Welcome back to Bass Fishing Dive Bar. Curt, what the hell happened to our background that you spent so much time setting up so we were uniform?
You always wanted to do it in the garage. So here I am. I'm out in my garage, sitting in the boat. It's too nice out to be cooped up. It's like 72 degrees. You can see the trees moving in the background. I mean, it's beautiful out. You don't get every day like this in Wisconsin. Half the year you open that door and just see snow.
I'm looking forward to the winter episodes when I'm not here wearing a sweatshirt again because it's warm, dude.
Yeah, I bet. What is it there? You never get real warm.
Well, right now it's 80, but I'm sitting in the garage where the sun's beating on this side of the garage all day, so it's warm in the garage right now. I got the AC on the other side running, starting to cool down, but
you can't just open your door?
I don't want the kids running around, background noise.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You get much humidity there?
Here and there, not too bad.
Yeah, not too bad.
It's been really dry, so we haven't had any storms come through. But as soon as we start getting, that monsoonish weather in a few months, it gets kind of sticky.
Mm-hmm.
But
the humidity's
you tell me
bad. Humidity's bad.
You get humid, yeah.
Yeah. We don't get that hot. I mean, we get into the 90s sometimes, hundreds every once in a while. But yeah, when it's the only time it gets that hot, it's also like you need gills to breathe. It's that humid. Down south, we get it for 3 months and 4 months of it. We only get maybe a week or two of it tops. But
yeah, you were telling me a couple of days ago your fishing has sucked the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. It's I don't know. There's some places you can go. My fishing where I like to fish, it's my home body of water. It's just not been fishing good. The water's not heating up. It's going up and down. It's a river. It's a little river system. So. Yeah, it hasn't been good. The fishing on the bay, the fish are sort of end of that spawn period, post-spawning. It's not been good. Fish are beat up. Northern Wisconsin sort of turning around. Seen some decent weights coming on tournaments up north and stuff, and I haven't had time to get up there with other stuff. But so yeah, my fishing's been bad mostly for lack of going, but I haven't been real ambitious to go flip high muddy water. Because we got super high. We had those record floods, right? 5 weeks later, we were like a foot above low record. We had 5 weeks. We had a 12-foot swing of water height on a river that during the summer you can cast across.
Yeah.
It was like 8 feet out of the bank. Kyle and I went fishing. I don't know if I told you that from the last podcast, but me and him went fishing, and he's like, how high was it here? We're fishing a spot. And I looked it up on the graph, and it's like, oh my, it was 10 feet higher than it is right now. So basically, from the surface of the water, raise your arm as high in the air as you can. And that's how high the water is. And we're standing in the boat looking over the bank. So, that water was feet over the bank. It's just, it looked like a giant reservoir when it was that high, but so so the river's been a little bit of a mess. And when that water goes up and down, it keeps moving the sand and the silt around. So until it stabilizes out, it doesn't get clear. It's just not been the best year so far. I like it when it's hot. It forces the fish to the weeds. Yeah. Weeds get developed good. I get to play, play with my flipping stick. Big weights.
The fun stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's been fun here. I've been catching a lot of fish. I fished a Federation tournament last Sunday and had the bites to win. I lost a couple fish. You and I talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
And I took my dad back out Saturday, day before Father's Day. Took him out fishing for Father's Day, and I whacked on him, dude. When after the wakeboard boats got going on this lake and the wind kind of picked up, that crankbait bite, those fish got up into that shallow grass and just started mowing down bluegill. And for 2 straight weekends, I want to say I probably went through 60 plus fish cranking on a shallow weed edge. A lot of brush in the water.
When you say shallow weed edge, are you fishing inside weed edge, outside weed edge?
So 3 weeks ago, you were able to fish the inside weed edge. There wasn't much of it. There was only a foot or two of water there, but there was enough water on the inside that you could actually fish the inside weed edge. But since that water's been coming down about a foot a week, now that inside weed edge is right on the bank. So now that weed edge only comes out to maybe there's areas where it comes out to like 11 foot, but the stuff's real short out there. But your main weed edge is in like 5 foot of water, 4 or 5 foot.
Yeah.
So, but dude, I mowed them down. I mean, it's been a really, really good bite, and it was cranking. And we've been kind of planning this episode for a few weeks now, talking about doing a cranking episode, and that's what this is going to be all about. I'm going to talk about the bait I caught them on in the last couple of weeks, along with baits all the way through the water column, 0 to 25, 30 foot, baits that we have proven to ourselves work. Proven baits. We're going to go bait by bait, why it works, what it does, what we do with them, and all the details. So,
well, that's it. I mean, I know for you, this time of year is a big crankbait time of year, right? You know, you catch fish pretty much all through the heat of the summer on a crankbait, right? And here in the north, you can too. And it doesn't get the attention that, you know, we're all familiar with ledge cranking and all that stuff. And there's this, the world of crankbaits is so much bigger than what gets publicized, really. Especially where, you know, especially here, you know, like what you're doing with the weed cranking. It's, you know, you're not always playing contact games with your crankbait. There's times where I'm doing that, especially in the fall, but a lot of the year, especially in Wisconsin, we don't have these nice rock weed transitions and stuff like that you may see in some of the natural Minnesota lakes or out in New York or on Lake Erie or Champlain and stuff. But, you know, it's just natural lake weed lines, inside weed lines, like you were just talking about, outside weed lines. Different actions, different types of baits work in those presentations than what we see. You know, we all see the big wide build dredger type crankbaits all the time talked about, but you and I hardly fish those really.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be fun. Took me a while to dig through all my tackle boxes and pull everything out. Just as you were talking, that's why I was looking away. I was trying to find a bait you made me remember when we started talking about inside weed edges. I'm like, well, where are those? I know I got 20 of them. They're discontinued, so now I'm really wondering where they are.
Yeah.
But,
well, we're going to start with the ultra shallow, super shallow. Yeah. And I don't do a lot of the, 0 to 2 foot here, but there is one bait when I'm thinking super shallow water, especially when you're talking really small bait fish, when your bluegill are only, just after the bluegill spawn, they're only an inch long. And your shad are super, super small. And even silver sides, even though this bait does not represent silver sides, when they're eating the little silver sides and really small bait, this one right here, Megabass Griffin. This is like 0 to...
Put your hand up behind it.
Is it not picking it up?
It doesn't. Yeah, that might look
So it's
better.
like 0 to maybe 3 foot. It's got... Let me see if I can... Can you hear that okay?
No. I don't hear anything.
Well, it's got a lot of glass in it, and it's a pretty loud crankbait for such a small bait.
More like was it, because since we couldn't hear it, does it sound more like a plastic beaded lipless? I don't know if anybody's heard some of those, like some of the old lipless crankbaits didn't have a million lead BBs, or they had a bunch of plastic or glass ones in it. Yeah.
It's a high pitch. There's only I think there's only two or three BBs in here. But it's a high pitch. It's a high pitch rattle. And I crank this thing when it's tough, but they will eat a crank. I will crank this thing a lot in super shallow water. It almost acts. Let me hold this thing. Yeah, that's a pretty good view of it right there.
It looks like it deflects off cover pretty well.
It deflects amazing off cover. It does. It's just like a square bill. It's not a square bill. It's rounded on the front, but it deflects really, really well. And if you notice on this thing how wide that body is compared to the hooks, it does not hang up.
Right.
at all. It rolls.
And those
right
are the
over
factory
stuff,
hooks.
and those small hooks. Just these are the factory hooks. Yes.
I'm not going to give away a secret you'll probably talk about later, but that's why I was curious. Those are factory. Do you have a GT6 in front of you?
I do.
Everybody's familiar with the GT6. Hold that bait next to the bait you just had. Okay. So yeah, that's
It's
tiny.
small. Yeah, it's
So
small.
I have a bait that I use in sort of a similar situation. And that's the Spro Little Fat John. And you can see that bill,
Yeah.
even wider than what you got. Sort of, you can see it's sort of that same thought process, right? But
Same thought
this
process
is my
for sure.
little like shad spawn, little shiners flicking up near the shore. This dives very, very shallow. Has a nice, what I would say, it's as much as you'd think that thing has this big, huge, wide, wobbly. It's so fast when it does it that it really works well for me. But that little Griffin intrigues me because I've always thought that this one has a little more roll than I want. How much roll does that Griffin have?
Quite a bit.
Quite a bit. So it's going to be similar.
That bill is similar enough to where it acts almost the same probably.
Yeah. This one, like a lot of people think of this more like a square bill, but I think this is more of like a finesse crank, like a power finesse crank, I don't think about it like a Lucky Craft 1.5. But I have another bait to show in regards to what you're talking about with your Griffin. Another Megabass bait. This is a Z crank. This is the Z crank Z1. Super Z crank Z1. It's only a 1/4 ounce. It has a weight transfer in it though, so it casts real nice. It's got their LBO weight transfer in it. But this is the other side of that spectrum. It deflects pretty good off cover, but it is definitely a little bit tighter, faster wiggle. So this is sort of that, because you can see the color I got. I got bluegills up shallow early in the spring. Water's first warming up. You got a couple warm days, and at 2 foot and shallow is 60, and everything else is 50. I'm throwing this around. Or when you get into that, they're around bluegill beds or just chasing bluegills around on fry garters. Those inside weed edges. This has gotten to be in the last 2 years. I only started fishing it 2 years ago. This has gotten to be a series of crankbaits, not just this one, but this one is really, it's replaced the Lucky Craft Flat Mini SR. I used to throw that a ton for that same circumstance, and that was almost like a shad rappy type action, but it's discontinued. Not the skeet, the actual original flat CB, the FLAT CB from Lucky Craft.
I don't exactly have an SR, what you're talking about.
But yeah, I mean, this is the MR.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call that a flat side crankbait, but you can see the bill is fairly narrow relative to the bait.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
So similar to that Spro bait, we're kind of into that square bill type bait.
Yeah.
Very similar bill. This is a bait that has not been made for a very long time, but it is a very similar bill. Method crank. Reaction Innovations Method crank. This is a balsa square bill type bait. It's got a single knocker in it. Probably can't hear that at all.
No.
But this thing, I think there's still some out on eBay, but this thing absolutely wrecks them.
And when you told me about it, it's like I didn't even
crankbait.
When you told me about it, it's like, man, I don't even remember that. I don't remember that bait.
They didn't make them for very long, but they catch the snot out of them. Talking about balsa. I mean, that bait is just your typical square bill. Throw into cover. I'll throw it during the shad spawn, in shad colors.
Yeah.
Anytime those fish are in real shallow wood, rock, this thing will get through cover really well, and it just catches the crap out of them.
Show me the bill.
The other balsa
bill
bait,
profile of that. Well, again, before do you want to talk about your other balsa bait, or do you want to talk about something that I think I have that's maybe pretty similar to that?
Go ahead and touch on yours, and then we'll go to the other balsa one.
Yeah. All right. This is the actual Spro Fat John.
Yeah.
You know, it is I look at this bait when I first bought it, I was like, that's a square bill version of a fat free shad. Like that's, you know, like the bait, it's
Pretty
flat on the
much.
side, but it's
Flat
that wider
sides.
body. But as you were holding up that method crank, I'm like, this bill angle's a little steeper, but this overall, other than this being flatter on the sides, it's not a whole lot different. So I'd be curious in the water what that bait looks compared to this one.
This bait
is not a
gets
balsa
a
bait.
little bit more depth.
I don't know. This one's my deepest diving square bill I own.
Is it?
Yeah, I mean,
What can you get
like
it
4
to?
feet's not a big deal.
Okay, I can probably get this one to like 6.
Yeah, yeah.
So it'll get a little bit more.
I rarely throw this on less than 16-pound test, so I don't know what to do on 4, or I mean on 12. I know it dives deep, you know, deeper than a 1.5 Strike King or Lucky Craft. So this is my confidence. Like the way you talk about that method crank, this is mine. If I have to pick one, this is probably the one that's on my rod right now. Probably grab my square bill rod, this exact color, this bait. But yeah, I was curious once you started showing that method crank. I'm like, and it floats like balsa. John did a really good job figuring this bait out, in my opinion. Like this bait really, like it feels when you reel it, when you fish it, the way it floats off cover, deflects. It has that little bit of lag, but then really responsive of movement that you get out of balsa, where plastic is so instantaneous. It's so quick to respond. This seems to have that like lag to it. And that's why I love it. And this is the bait why I don't own a balsa square bill shallow crankbait anymore. This bait.
Got it.
And there's no rattle. It's nothing.
Well, one similarity that I see between this bait and that bait, hold it back up, the bill.
Yeah, like you can see the angle's a little different. That angle's steeper.
Well, yeah,
but yeah,
I'm
the overall shape.
I'm talking material.
Yeah. Yep. Circuit board.
So touch on that. You can probably do a little bit better job explaining the advantage of circuit board lip versus a plastic.
You know what? I probably can't. I'm very technical about a lot of stuff. The bills on a crankbait, I know very little about. You can have me a crankbait, and I can look at a bill, and I can sort of tell you, is that going to roll a lot, or what it's going to maybe be good for. But to try to design one from scratch, I'd be lost. I'd be guessing.
Well,
I can tell you this. I'll tell you the one thing I do know about the circuit board bill that I really like. I feel that I can detect the type of cover it's hitting a lot better with a circuit board bill than a Lexan plastic type bill that are on all the other baits. I mean, that's not a short bill by any extent of the imagination. What else do I got here? Did I not? I didn't even pull out another square bill. I know. Can you believe that? I mean, I got more square bills in the tackle box.
The biggest difference that I noticed between Lexan and circuit board is the way that it deflects off of rock. Your Lexan is much harder.
Yeah.
And I feel like a Lexan bill will jump off of rock quicker or more erratic than a circuit board bill will, because that circuit board is soaking up a little bit of that shock.
So this is a bait that I'd say is like your in between. This is I think anybody that's throwing a square bill crankbait has probably seen this over time, whether they've chose to buy them or not. You know, it's the Rick Clun, or originally it was a Rick Clun, but made by Lucky Craft, 1.5 square bill. They were exclusive at Bass Pro for forever. But you can see that bill
of it.
And that is super thin. that really does fish dang near like the circuit board bill, and I think it's because of how thin it is. There are times when I throw this versus that Fat John. But I mean, I'm looking at it, and I don't have my Strike Kings in this box, but here's Rocco.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess I don't classify, when I say balsa baits, I don't classify Rapala as a balsa bait because they're just all balsa. But I mean, that's a straight up square bill circuit board. Sproul Fat Papa. Try to get one out here. I don't have fancy boxes to keep them all. I got too many baits in one box. Fat Papa. Circuit board. And I agree. The way it hits cover and then deflects off that cover is definitely different. I think the fact because you feel it more positive also causes you to pause faster.
Yeah. Hitting
cover does not feel like getting a bite as much as it does if you've got, especially with like a big deep diving crankbait, like, here's a 5XD. You hit cover with that. There's a lot of flex to that bill, what you don't realize in the front of that. And it absorbs sensation. And our crankbait rods are the most unsensitive rods, I mean, I got some custom built crankbait rods that have titanium frame guides on it because I want as much sensitivity out of a blank that isn't very sensitive. I know you do that too.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so that's, I wanted to, I really just thought that bait was like, that's very similar to the message crank. You'll have to order some.
So to me, sticking with, since we're still all kind of on that balsa topic and in the square bill range, I know you are very familiar with this bait, and they don't make it anymore. Although you can find them on eBay, and I've got a whole ton of them.
Oh, I just showed you. That's the same color fat wrap I showed you. I got pretty much
the old Rapala flat wrap, fat wrap.
Yeah.
And dude, this thing over how many years has this thing been out? I mean, they don't make it anymore. It's been
that. Do they not make it at all anymore? I think they still make it, but there's like 4 colors only.
I don't think they do.
I'll look. They don't make it in
up.
that current. I'm working on it.
But this bait, I mean, I want to say they were making this thing in the 70s.
What are you talking about?
Do they still make it?
I'm looking at a black and silver one on Tackle Warehouse right now. $8.99.
Maybe they do still make it.
They make, according to Tackle Warehouse, this isn't Rapala's website, but crawdad, fire tiger, perch, and silver. So what's funny, the one they don't make anymore though is the shallow fat wrap, which was almost like a baby 1-. Probably it might predate the man's baby 1-. Those were the first 2 bass crankbaits that I ever fished. Here, the fat wrap used to be a big deal. Guys would do floats. They would just throw the flat bottom boat in and drag a rope with a chain, drift down the river, and you just cast behind all the trees and catch smallmouth and walleyes doing it. There's a lot of guys. Like, that was the summer bait. It was the fat wrap. In the spring, after the walleyes are done spawning and stuff, you throw a shad wrap. And then once the water got warm, you switch to a fat wrap. Those were the first bass crankbaits I ever had. Remember they had the deep rattling fat wrap that was like a number 7 or 6. Caught a lot of fish on those over the years. Like, those were, for me, like my original red crankbaits were those flow orange and red with the airbrush, looked like Sharpie marker squiggles on it. Yeah, just squiggles. Yep. They were just the most, it looked like something you did in art class in 5th grade, but they worked. Yeah, I couldn't tell you the last time I threw one. It was one of those things when they started making all these nicer, prettier colors. I was like, no, I want my old ugly colors. And I just, about this time that the original fat free shad came out is probably when I quit throwing fat wraps.
Well, they didn't stop eating it. That's for sure.
I bet not. I wish I would have not stopped, because now there's times where I'm like, man, I'd love to just like you got guys our age buying He-Man action figures because there's a He-Man movie out. It's like I want to just go throw a fat wrap and pretend like I'm 12 again.
Right.
I don't need any He-Man action figures, but I'll take some fat wraps and some Johnson Silver minnows and some Mep spinners and go fishing like I'm 12.
Yep. Yeah, that to me, that is one of the ultimate square bill type baits. It has really stood the test of time. It still flat out catches them. It casts really, really well for a balsa bait. It is very aerodynamic. And it comes through cover. It comes through rock.
I don't know if the current fat wrap is balsa. Don't know if they kept it balsa. That might be what's different.
I have one plastic version. I have a 3,700 box full of fat wraps, and I have one plastic version. And I want to say that they still make the plastic version, but they don't make the balsa anymore.
No, crafted from extra durable balsa wood.
It is? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't bought one in probably 25 years. So.
It's got that like saw blade kerf groove in the nose of it still.
Yeah.
What you guy needs to do. Did I just blink away for a second?
No, you're good.
My laptop decided to be going to sleep mode, I guess.
No, you're still here.
So custom painted crankbaits. I don't play a lot with it anymore because I don't have all the equipment to paint it myself, or at least I'm not set up. I don't have the paint. I got all the equipment, I guess, and nothing set up. But how much custom painted crankbait stuff do you get into?
I am very picky with my custom paint jobs.
Yeah.
I don't have anything that I painted here myself. I do fish a lot of crankbaits that I paint myself, but I don't have anything here on the table that I painted myself. I have one painted crankbait that we'll talk about here in a little bit that I have painted for a very specific reason. But I'd say less than 10% of my baits are custom painted.
I used to custom paint a lot of stuff because it bothered me. Oh, I really like this color, but they don't make this bait in that color. And then it just got where I didn't want to take the time. I mean, I was painting jigs every day for 20 years.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't want to paint when I'm done working. I'm painting while I'm working. I don't want to paint when I'm done working. I found there's a lot of guys that can custom paint crankbaits, especially here, like walleye guys. Yeah. You can find they probably got to buy paint. They're good. They're artists. Like they're really good at stuff, but they're not used to painting bass stuff. So usually you got to con them into buying you paint colors and this and that. But the biggest thing I find with these custom painted crankbaits, and I would say it definitely matters when you start playing with the balsa and the characteristics that you get out of a balsa bait, they mess it up with the clear coat.
Yes, 100%.
Like jerk baits, same thing. I've got one guy, and I try to take good care of him because when me and him work together, we figured out he can custom paint jerk baits for me and not mess with the buoyancy. I don't know why. We tried a bunch of different clear coats, but we found one that seems to be neutrally buoyant, so it doesn't really make it float or sink more. But that seems the biggest thing when I've dealt with custom painted crankbaits. It's like the bait's not designed for that extra coat of clear on it and paint. It doesn't run the same. And I just got out of doing custom. Certain baits paint well. Certain baits don't seem to matter, but a lot of baits, especially the balsa, I feel like you start putting more paint on there and it just messes it up.
Yep. And it's got to be a pretty thin clear coat.
Yeah. Now, did you ever back to your fat wrap? Did you ever fish the shallow fat wrap, the one with the little thumbnail bill on it? I don't think I own one. Yeah, that was Man, I mean that was my square bill for forever. I mean forever.
Yeah.
It wasn't until like 2005 that I was like, man, I need a square bill that goes a little deeper because it's a shallow running crankbait. It's like I said, it's like that baby 1 minus or it's like a 1 to 2 foot crankbait. Mm-hmm. So good around fry garters. Gosh, that thing was good around fry garters. It was like crashed into everything, very intrusive. Didn't roll a lot, just went boom, boom, boom in the water with very little roll.
Well, my last bait in the square bill category, I don't know. There's a lot of people knocking this thing off now, but it's been a standby for a very long time for a lot of guys.
Speed trap,
the old Lure Jensen speed trap, and this thing, dude. I mean, it almost fishes like a balsa bait. The way that it rises.
It was a different bait.
It's a high float bait that they call it a speed trap for a reason. You can wind the thing as fast as you can and it'll stay true. My favorite thing to do with that bait is crashing rock. When you got that baseball to, maybe 2 to 3 foot wide rock around that's kind of cobbled, crashing that stuff into there during a shad spawn. Dude, and it's got a real unique rattle. It's got a single ball inside of it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you can hear that.
When you first pick it up, you can hear it. Yeah, then you could when you first picked it up, you can hear it.
So it's got a single ball in there, and what's cool about that rattle is it's totally random. It's not in a chamber. So it's almost an inconsistent rattle because it's bouncing around all over that body, hitting on different thicknesses or different distances in that body. It's different, and that thing is a flat out fish catcher. We've absolutely murdered. In town here, there's a couple different lakes that many 30-pound bags have been caught on a speed trap.
Now, you said a lot of people are copying that.
They are.
There's getting to be. Have you seen the Storm speed trap?
Yes.
You know that Normark Rapala owns Lure Jensen, and they just rebranded the original speed trap under Storm.
Well, but I think Sixth Sense is also making almost an identical copy of the speed trap. There's 2 or 3 different companies that are making almost an identical bait to the old speed trap.
I was just looking here. Have you played with it? Have you used that?
No.
Sixth Sense one?
All I have is the old school ones.
So you got the Storm speed trap, like I said, it's going to come with that same snap on the front. I mean, I'm not going to say it's 100% the same original Lure Jensen speed trap, but
it's very close.
It's going to be very close. You got Norman with the Speed N.
Yeah. That's not the same bait, though.
I don't think so.
It's not.
But yeah, Sixth Sense. There was somebody else I seen too not that long ago. I was like, oh, that's like a speed trap. I can't remember who it was, but that's one bait though. I've not played with that bait much. We had a guy who was sort of in Wisconsin. He was sort of like the local fishing celebrities in Wisconsin. His name's Joe Booker, and he used a lot of the Lure Jensen stuff. And I never got into the speed trap, but they used to have a lipless crankbait that was different than anybody else's lipless crankbait. And man, that thing would catch smallmouth like natural lake smallmouth like nobody's business. But they don't make that.
I don't remember that bait.
I want to say it was like a sugar crank or something like that. I don't know. I'd have to ask him. I know he's got boxes of them still. They're probably all red. Weird. Spring smallmouth around weeds. If they're all red lipless crankbait. Weird. Don't wonder why. All right, what else you got?
Do you have any
That's just
other?
shallow
Do you have
crank
any
thing.
other square bills to talk
Oh,
about?
I got all kinds of. Yeah. Well, you went sort of like shallow crank. I mean, do you have other shallow cranks? Do you have other 4 foot, sub 4
I
foot
have
crankbaits to discuss?
no, not sub 4 foot.
Okay, well, let me go
Everything
through
I've
what else
got
I
now is
got.
5 foot and deeper. So go
All
ahead
right.
and go into yours.
I want to talk a little bit more in detail, like this bait. Like I wanted to compare it to what you were talking about, but this
What is that
Fat
again?
John. That's the Spro Fat John. FAT, not FLAT. You're gonna have to deal with my Wisconsin accent and not understand me half the time. This bait to me, like that balsa bait, like I was saying, like it just comes through cover. Like out of all the square bills I've owned, some come through cover real easy. Some it seems like you have to have the right rod. This bait, I can throw on a pretty stiff rod. And I'm fishing this a lot of times around wood with current in it. So the current's pushing it into a log. I might get bit. I got to yank a fish out of it. I got to fish some pretty stout rods a lot of times just to, well, great. Yeah, I can fish my bait through it, but I can't ever get a fish out of it. So I got to up my rod. This bait really just hunts well in that cover, seems to have good draw power to get fish to come out off that cover in current. There's times in the spring, like if I'm on a lake and stuff, a lot of times I'll go to that Lucky Craft 1.5. I prefer a silent, but there are times where I've had rattles make a difference in cold, muddy water. But I mean, this, I don't know, this day in, day out, like I said before, there's always a square bill rod. Probably the one I found the best that has the, I don't know, I call it's the fastest actioned composite crankbait rod is the 7.2 medium heavy X Bride. I love that rod. I can throw this on a 7 foot medium, but that 7.2 medium heavy composite X Pride, I'm doing some stuff. I want to try to custom build one. I've got some different composite blanks, some Bushido crankbait blanks from MHX that I'm going to try to see if I can build something comparable and just change up components just because, why not? I'm bored. But that 7.2 medium heavy crankbait rod, I use that for a lot of cranks. I mean, I pretty much crank everything on the 7 foot medium or 7.2 medium heavy. Almost everything nowadays is on those.
That medium, the 7.2 medium heavy is my square bill rod. That's what I throw. And I will also throw a lighter chatterbait on that rod too.
Yeah, I've thrown DT6s on it. I've thrown just a ton of stuff, rock crawlers. I'm river cranking most of the time when I'm using that type of rod anyway. So I can throw a lot of stuff on those two rods.
Yep.
Well worth it. Everybody's like, well, I can buy a composite crankbait rod for $150. And it's like, it's cruddy guides and crappy reel seat. And it's heavy and bulky feeling. And I do like St. Croix Legend Tournament composite. They're composite crankbait rods, not the Legend Tournament orangey looking copper colored glass rod.
Your glass ones.
Your Legend Tournament composites, or they'll say glass. They have a 7.2 medium moderate that's nice. A 7.4 medium heavy moderate that's actually with braid, a really nice big topwater rod. Yeah, I think I covered that one enough.
Yeah.
Before.
Talk really quick about
the little brother. Those two baits are the same series. It's the Spro Fat John, designed by John Cruz. Every time that guy makes something, I gotta try it because even if I've thought some of the stuff he makes is like, what is he doing there? I try it. I'm like, gosh dang it, this looks dumb to me, but man, it works. We'll talk about what now.
So kind of going back to, I remember this almost same thing happening in our swim bait episode. A lot of guys cranking will just cast and wind, right? That's not what we're doing cranking, especially when you are cranking in cover. Yes, you're casting. Yes, you're winding it back. But as you're winding it back, you are feeling your way through cover. And you're almost worming your way through the brush if you're fishing brush.
That's the term that I use. I call it worming my crankbait through cover. I use that same term whether I'm fishing grass. That's something that I've done a lot of. Me and you talked about when we were in preparation for this podcast. We'll get into that in a while. I guess what if someone's like, I want to be a better crankbait fisherman, the first thing I'm going to tell them is, especially with these shallow crankbaits, where the whole intent is that you are bumping cover most of the time. Like, you want to try to make it come in contact with rocks, this, that, and the other thing. And this is a philosophy that I've recently started to apply much more deliberately to my chatterbait fishing, and it seems to have really improved my chatterbait fishing as well, is be deliberate with every crank of your handle.
100%.
What? If I'm just cranking, I am just cranking to crank it down. Once I get into cover, I'm trying to use that rod. And I get real particular about my rods usually with crankbaits because I want to feel that I know exactly what the crankbait's doing. And I'm cranking that handle, and it's like I lost contact with bottom, and I'm going to give it one of these, and that's going to make it jump. It's going to make it do something. It's going to make it react, whether I recover contact with bottom or cover again, or I don't. Flipping a jig, you can sort of tune out and you just be like, yo.
Yeah.
Just leave it sit, pause, yo. But with a crankbait, I think the really, really good crankbaiters, every cast they make, they crank it down, and you're like, that's deliberate. Everything's deliberate. They're getting it down there. They're worming it through cover. We've got square bills that are meant to do that in shallow wood and rock. You got, like the Strike King XD series that's made to get that bait down and root bottom, whether that's rock or clam beds or clay or sand or whatever. And then, of course, you have, which we'll get into, the crankbaits that are for suspended fish. And now that crank, and I use the handle of my reel. I don't use my rod. I don't use a twitch. I use my handle. One of the reasons why I've actually started to play with 7-to-1 gear ratios for certain cranking techniques that I normally wouldn't in the past, because I can manipulate it more than I could with a 6-4-to-1 or 6-2-to-1, getting that 32
really
inches.
Speed it up when you want to.
I can really, you say it's real hard to slow down, but you know what? My spinning reels, I think I'm fishing my little 2.8 Kitech real slow, and it's got a reel that's 36 inches per handle turn pickup. My bait caster, my fast ones are 30, so you can slow down. Generally speaking, if they want to eat it, they're going to eat it no matter how fast you fish it. Generally speaking, so
exactly.
Started to transition from that a little bit.
No,
but yeah,
so to add on to
be
that,
deliberate. Be deliberate with your crank.
To add on to being deliberate, if you do just cast the thing out and wind it back, if you're fishing grass, you're going to get balled up in grass every single time.
Yeah.
If you're fishing through brush or you're fishing through trees, if you just wind it through that tree, you're going to get the thing hung up every single time.
Yeah.
If you're being deliberate about it, there are ways to get a bait through the nastiest cover if you have the right bait tied on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Shallow cranks. Do you have anything like this that you're going to talk about? Old school style, flat side. Like, this is not a balsa bait. Most people throw this in a balsa bait. I consider this
my favorite bait is same. Yeah, mine's about 5, but my favorite bait now, I think, of all time, honestly, is your same type of category. But go ahead and start with that one.
Okay. Well, I'll come back around to this one in a second. So, touched on it a little bit. I don't have the SR, but this is a flat mini by Lucky Craft. That's, I don't know, size 4 centimeters or 40 millimeters, This is the MR. I use this. This actually doesn't dive that deep. People look at it and you think that would dive deeper than it does. It does not dive that deep. It does, in my opinion, this does not get
like
6
4 or
feet.
5.
Yeah, like 5 of the tops. So I throw this one and the SR, which is just the same bill shape but shorter. Almost looks from a side profile a little bit like that Speed Trappy. There's a lot of this to it when it swims. There's not a lot of this. Super finesse. And that's what when you used to buy these crankbaits, even not the mini ones, there is a big spiel on the back of the package talking about finesse cranking. They were crankbaits designed. It's one of the original Lucky Craft crankbait designs. And it said right on the package, finesse cranking for clear water, tighter wiggle, minimal roll. I love this type of crankbait. I don't care what brand you have to buy to get it. You don't see many of them anymore. We're going to talk about some baits down the road here.
Hold that bill up so we can see the shape of that bill. Okay. Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of a Shad Rap, just shorter. It's not quite as narrow.
It's very DT6-ish. Yeah. Yes, not quite. It's not as narrow per its length like a Shad Rap bill is. A Shad Rap bill is longer than that with same width. But yes, and these baits they're so good on suspended fish. And that's where when we were talking earlier about the be deliberate, and when you're fishing a suspending type crankbait, you don't see many of them anymore that have this type of bill configuration. DT6 is one of the few that is real popular, but that's why. It's different action than a DT10 or a DT8 or even a DT4. They're tighter, faster, but you have to impart that erratic with your reel handle and not just pauses. Everybody's like, well, I crank and then I pause, and I crank when I pause. For me, more times than not, I get bit on the pause because my pause comes after I cranked hard. I gave it a hard, so another nice little, and then like I said, what sort of replaced that for me is, because here's actually this is the DR version of that bait. Same body, just a little bit bigger bill, same configuration. Try to get it here so you can see it and not poke myself. But, this one has a little more cup. You can see as I turn it, you can see that cup in there. A little bit wider. This one plays pretty good double duty where you can crank this into rocks and stuff. And I don't know. I just get, when you start talking about shallow crankbaits, like those aren't necessarily shallow, but I consider them shallow because a lot of times I'm throwing that thing on a heavier pound test line and I'm not getting it down to its max depth. I'm throwing it on 14 because I am around cover and stuff. But then those Z cranks, that's the Z1 and the Z2. I do fish the Z3, but we'll talk about that later. These cranks are very good at a high rate of speed. They're very good when you impart erratic action with the reel handle. And the top one is the one, short bill. That's my light line one, finesse, 2-3 feet. And then the next one down being the 2. I throw that on heavier pound test line, but then get the same depth out of it. But you can see there's actually very different bill shapes there. And they do
totally different bills.
But you can see this one compared back to that flat mini DR bill. Yeah. Like they're getting pretty similar. And of course the size. These are small baits. These are, quarter, 5/16 ounce crankbaits. They both have weight transfer. I recommend you try to get something that has a weight transfer in it if you can. When you're fishing a small crankbait, just makes your life easier.
Yep.
But yeah, I guess that's other than this one that I said we'd come back to. So the old school, this is not a balsa bait, but it's designed off a balsa bait. Old school flat-sided balsa crankbait. I know there's a bait like this that you like a lot, probably. Something side.
Keep yours up because I'm gonna put it up almost side by side with yours.
Yeah.
Very, very similar. You're looking
at
that
out of the box, Matt, like that?
Body shape. What's that?
Is that out of the box like that? That matte finish?
Out of the box like this. Yep.
Okay. This is curious.
This is become my probably all-time favorite crankbait of any depth range. Just there is something about this thing that flat out freaking gets bit, and I'm talking year round.
Yeah.
Winter, spring, fall, summer, does not matter. They eat it.
That's it. This bait, I don't fish it as much as I should, but I can't tell you a time of year I have not caught fish on it. Yeah. And I think similar to you, when you get in the heartland of bass fishing, all you hear is shad, shad, shad. And I know you have some shad, and we have some shad here, but I really think these baits shine much more year round for us in the north or out there by you, because you're dealing with shiners or alewife or Cisco or herring or this or that. And all of those species swim fast with very tight wiggles. And that's what you don't see out of a bait that's these wide bill, traditional gizzard shad fishery type baits like a 5XD, a 3XD, DT8, DT10. They don't mimic the action. They maybe mimic a bluegill pretty well. But then that's the other thing I think this is so good at, is mimicking a bluegill, this type of bait. Big, flat-sided. Yep. That
looks pretty clear on my end. This is the bait that I just did so much damage over the last 3 weeks. And it's because in the lake that I was fishing, there are no shad. I don't know if there's a single shad in that place. They're eating little bluegill. Both of these colors here, the green HD green craw and HD brown craw, I threw in the winter at a lake that has plenty of shad, but it's that really, really early spring where those fish are just mowing down crawdads.
And I'd like to touch on something with that. Hold those two colors up again. Okay. Well, now the camera focused on it, but until the camera focused on it, those look as bluegill looking colors as they're not. You know what I'm saying?
Well, guess what? I was down to my last one of these in the boat this weekend. Yeah. And this is one that I did not want to lose. Right. So this thing went back in the box, and they're mowing down bluegills, right? Yeah. Guess what 2 colors I caught them on?
Yeah, and I would say the bottom one probably worked almost as good as the original, the bluegill color.
They both worked. They both worked just the same. It didn't matter.
Yeah. So keep that in mind. I guess that's something we weren't really going to talk about. But when it comes to color selection on crankbaits, it's moving and it's pausing. And that crayfish, those 2 crayfish colors 100%. You just held up, when you pause it and then crank it again, they're just getting a flash of that bait, and the rest of the time it's just flash, 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 flash. So you just want to hit the color hues that you see reflected out of that. Like with me, if I'm around bluegill, like juvenile bluegill, I need some purple in my crankbait. I can take a Sharpie marker and put some squiggles on it or something else to break up the sides, but it better give me some turquoise and some purple flashes on it, in clear water. But you start getting some stained water, you look at that, you get some black, some brown, some chartreuse in it, boom, bluegill.
Yep.
So
yeah,
no,
I'm actually a little surprised. I don't own a single one of those little johns, and I'm a little surprised at how similar the body shape is, bill angle, bill shape, all of that.
Well, they're all built off of. I mean, I have no clue what the original one is. There's a lot of people that I'm sure could tell you which the original balsa bait was. But there's many of that type of design. I mean, and both of those ultimately are designed after that. They're that thin balsa bait, flat-sided crankbait with the tiny little circuit board bill on it. I used to play a little bit around with the balsa ones. They didn't cast worth a crud. It was hard to fish. I didn't prefer it. What I love about that little john is it's got a rubberized tungsten ball in the bait.
Yeah.
So that weight transfers. They cast really good. I've caught piles of walleyes on them. I know some guys that troll them. I know guys that cast them on the river. I mean, that's probably the number one crankbait I get guys asking me for that are walleye fishing. We're like, hey, you got any of those that you don't use or don't like the color that I can custom paint? Because they want to paint it, like purple fire tiger or something silly. But yeah, I mean, it's a fast, tight wiggle crankbait, but when you slow it down, it's slow. Like it seems like that when you find a flat-sided crankbait that's built properly, it swims the speed that bait is moving forward. It matches it, and that's what's so important with any crankbait. Is it just like a swim bait? That tail on a swim bait's got to kick at the right speed relative to its forward movement. Crankbait's got to roll and wiggle and swim the right speed relative to its forward momentum. Some really good crankbaits are only good at one speed. Great crankbaits are good at every speed.
100%.
Yeah.
And I'll say about that Fritz side, that thing, you could throw similar baits all day long to that Fritz side. And as soon as you tie that Fritz side and throw it out, that thing thumps. It's different.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it's hard because it's not hard. It's a fairly soft pull, but it's just different. It feels a little bit different than everything else out there.
Do you feel that bait splashes its side more?
Yes. It does.
I got some 100%. Ideas why I think that is, but I'm not going to share them because I don't want to sound stupid if I'm wrong. That bait is different than any other true flat-sided because it's almost the only bait that I've seen sort of similar body contour to that would be the old thin fin from Storm, where that bait has some contour belly to back.
Yes.
Where pretty much all the other baits you look at of this style, you're going to have it be pretty like just squared. Right? Straight vertical sides, straight horizontal bottom and top.
No, it's definitely
that has some body contour to it. And then, they did something unique with the weighting on that one where those weights are. And
yeah, I'll hold that up too.
Yeah. So I'll have to get some. I've never tried them. You'll have to get a couple Spros. We'll see.
You need to. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. What else you got?
I think on the shallow stuff, that's about it. I mean, I'm pretty much ready to go to our.
You have any DTs out?
What I would consider mid-range crankbait selection. What was that?
You have any DTs out?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Okay. Why don't you get into that while I pour myself another drink?
All right.
What are you drinking
tonight? John Daly, Good Boys.
I'm drinking I'm drinking my birthday present.
Yeah, you got to smooth the other way. 4 Roses. I've heard that's good. Small
batch select. My father-in-law got this for me for my birthday last week. It is.
If I drink stuff like that during this podcast, I'd never make the end of it.
Sounds like you need to practice more.
Oh, the practice isn't the problem. It's the enjoy it too fast is the problem. Yeah, if I drink it like that, I'm not pretty good at sipping. But when I get talking, I need to drink. I need, I gotta have, even with water. It doesn't have to be whiskey or anything.
You got to coat the throat.
Yeah. All right. DTs. Fairly new. Was real popular when it first came out. DT8. I'm going to try it here. And then the old tried and true classic winning DT6. Probably I would be willing. Yeah.
DT8, DT6. There's a reason we both have them out.
I'd be willing to bet a good amount of money that if you pulled every single upper level pro angler, Elite Series MLF, WAN Bass, BFL guys, more anglers will have DT6s in their crankbait box even though they're not sponsored by it, than probably any single other bait other than a Yamamoto Senko. Because you know every angler
100%.
has Yamamoto Senkos. This is the Yamamoto Senko of crankbaits, if you ask me. This bait you can throw on heavy line. It's surprisingly good around cover if you throw the right rod, if it has the right slow action to it. It deflects very well. You can catch suspended fish on it. It ruts in the bottom very well. I don't know if I've ever seen such a universal crankbait as the DT6. The only thing I will tell you, do not water slap this to get leaves or weeds off of it, because you will, any balsa crankbait, not just these, but these are bad, probably the worst, you will shatter this thing. Do not water slap
100%.
a crankbait ever. You'll break all of them, but this one's the worst.
Yep.
DT6.
I don't know if that one's the worst. DT10 is probably the worst.
Wow, the DT series is the worst. I guess I should clarify.
DT10's pretty good. The way that build narrows down, but yeah, like you said, do not water slap those things to get grass off, because it's a thin bill. You will break it.
These things, like the bait you were just talking about, the Fritz side, David Fritz, was designed by David Fritz in 2002, 2003. They hit the market.
The old DT line was.
Yes. Now, what I always found interesting is the DT6 bill. Do you have a DT10 handy? So DT6
bill. I didn't grab one.
Look at the profile of that bill, right? Where's my? That's an 8th bill, right?
Yeah.
This
and the 10 is a little wider and rounder.
Yes, this 8th bill is the same shape roughly as a 10 or a 14 or a 16 or a DT20. I want to say the 14 and the 20 had the stainless steel weight in the bills to get a steeper dive angle. Yeah, one of the 14 or 16. Then the 16 did.
No, 16 didn't.
Yeah, there was 2 of them. Yeah, there was 2 of them that did.
The 20 does for sure. I know the 16 doesn't. I've got plenty of 16s in the box, and it doesn't have them.
Yeah, I don't even know if they make 14 anymore.
I think they do.
Yeah, but I used to throw those a lot, and I know one of them was. I was like, why? Like, it's almost the same bait, but no, this one's got a weight in it with a smaller bill.
Yeah,
but
20 does for sure.
This one does not move the same as this one.
No. Two different baits.
And with working with VMC and stuff and that brand group, I always told them, like, I want this DT6 in a 10. Give me a DT6 that dives 10 feet. This gets down a little more than 6 feet pretty easily. You can get this to 7, maybe 8 if you push your line diameter down. And I was so excited when I seen this, because I'm like, this is going to be, a DT8, it's the body size of a 6, a little bit longer bill. It's not quite the same. It has its place. It is not this for me. If I pick this up and throw it for a half hour and don't get bit, I instantly just grab this. And I'm just like, yeah.
See, I catch them on the 8, but not in the situations where I'm throwing a 6. I catch them on the 8 in situations where I'd throw the 10, but I can get away with throwing it a little bit shallower and not, dredging so much. But I want that little bit smaller size.
Yeah, the body of the bait isn't so big.
Exactly.
I got
a 10 the same body size as the 6, but it runs almost to that 10-foot range where your 10 would.
$10, $8.
Yep.
Just a little bit smaller. And I've heard so many people. We had a couple bodies of water around here that was really good crankbaiting for a lot of years on a tournament trail. So many guys would not throw this bait because they're like, well, look at it. It just looks weird. It's just that how deep it is right here, right? And that's to house that weight. There's so much weight right in here. If you've ever slapped one on the water and broke one open, you'll know what I mean. And that's why I think you see on the Fritz side, any of the Fritz crankbaits that he's done with Berkeley now, you see those two like weight cylinders on the bottom, because with the plastic, they're able to house it differently and not get this per se odd duck looking side profile.
But those fish do not give a crap about that odd profile.
No, because once it's moving, you don't see it the same.
They eat it. And I mean, if you're trying to mimic a bluegill too with it's a bluegill profile. It is that tall profile.
Yeah. That's why I throw that smash color a lot. It's a good for here, especially. What I don't like it though is around grass. I don't like a DT anything other than maybe the 6, and the 6 isn't that good, but I don't like around grass.
No, it doesn't pull through very well.
They do one thing that I find very interesting though. When you are cranking bottom, you're hunting it like we were talking before. When you kill it, if you can feed it just a little bit of slack, so keep your rod in, kill it, give it some slack, that thing actually turns around and backs up away. So it's like if a fish was following it, that bait all of a sudden turns around, looks the fish in the face, and then backs up. And I don't know how many fish I've caught bill first down their throat on a DT. Always on that hard chop with the handle, feed it a little slack. Whoa, you just get folded over. That fit. It's like that. It's like it turned around and punched the fish in the nose. Said, "You can't eat me."
Yeah.
And the fish just chomps. That's a very unique characteristic to all the DT series. I don't know of very many other crankbaits that'll do a spin around.
Perfect segue to this one here, and this one I know for sure is not made anymore, and good luck finding them. I probably have about 8 of them because I developed a relationship with this guy at a at a fishing show probably 20 years ago, from Japan. His name's Hiroshi Nishine, and the company is Nishine Lure Works, and this one is the Beater 7. That should show up pretty clear, right?
Yeah.
That is a foam body crankbait. It's not wood, not plastic. It's foam. It dives about 7 foot. It's one of the better bluegill patterns I've ever seen. The detail, I don't know if you can see the detail in that bait in the camera, Curt. Can you?
Yeah, you can't really. There's a lot of glare on it. Maybe just roll it back to belly a little bit.
Maybe I'll roll it a little bit, maybe to pick that up.
Yeah.
But dude, the detail in this thing, I mean, crankbaiting detail does not matter all that much, if you're going to stop it. But this bait will, when you're cranking it down, it will crank down, hit bottom. If you stop, it will back up into those fish's face, just like the DTs will.
Well, the DT doesn't back up.
The DT will turn.
The DT comes down and then turns.
Yeah. This thing will come down. This thing will crank down and back out. Not only will back up into fish's face with no cover, but if you run into cover, it will actually, let me see if I can get this right on the camera. It'll back its way out of cover, just like a DD22 or a DD14. Yes.
That's a deep little end.
That was deep little end. But yeah, it's same idea. You crank it down, it'll back its way out, and then you can continue your retrieve.
And that's one thing you see. Out of all of these dredging, I'm going to call them type crankbaits, where they're so weighted front heavy, so that when they sit in the water, they almost sit like this, bill down at butt of the bait up out of the water. They all want to, when you feed them line, they all want to spiral back up. That's what really kills it in weed cranking situations, backing it back out of wood. That's what I think is so impressive about the DT series of baits, is because it deflects really well off of wood. But if you hang it in there, it's hung.
Yeah.
Where there's other baits that definitely come back out of cover better than them.
For sure.
But they don't dredge bottom. They don't get down there for as much of your cast. So, it's one of those things. Do you want more time in the strike zone, but more likely to lose a bait? Or do you want, less time in a strike zone, but don't lose many baits? I got one along that line. Oh, I didn't take it out. Where are they? I mean, you talked about it before this. There it is. You can't see on camera, but I have like 10 deep crankbait boxes full of crankbaits. Rumor is this bait is being discontinued or already has been. This is a Spro Fat Papa. It is somewhat similar to the Lucky Craft 1.5 DD and 2.5 DD. They do make a bigger version of this. I don't throw it much. This is not a fast diver. This actually, even with this bill, I mean, that's a sizable bill on that bait.
Looks like a rock crawler bill.
It's not. If you look here, too, it's got a pitch to it.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
But it's not as wide. You know, it's more like the original Strike King, like Series 3-5 type bill or Bandit type bill. It's more along that line. It does not dive as deep as you think it would. But it worms through cover, backs out of cover like nobody's business. It fishes a lot like a deep dive and balsa crankbait. And that's one reason why I do like it. I rarely throw it. It's a very specialized tool for me. But if I have fish deep in wood and you need that like stop and hover that a crankbait gives you that a chatterbait doesn't or a swim jig doesn't, that's when these get pulled out. I've got a pile of them on the wall. I ordered a bunch and I'm just like, I rarely use them, rarely lose one. So I should be set for a long time because it's something that really for here, maybe if I fish the Mississippi River a lot more, which would mean more than once every 10 years, I'd probably go through a lot more. But on the Wolf River, it's like one every 5 years I will get on that bite. But I'm glad to know that I have that bite and have the capability of fishing it.
Yeah. I've got one more in that like 7 foot range here. I've got 2. Fished this bait exclusively during the shad spawn. I know I can get bit in other times a year on it, but for some reason, and I want to say it's the rattles in this thing, it absolutely murders them. It shines during the shad spawn. And this is one that for sure is not made anymore. This one is a Duo Hacker Slaver 55 MD. And see how wide that body is? It's kind of it's a different lip too. Different lip, real wide body. It's a pretty tight wiggling crankbait. And let me see if you can hear this thing.
See, that's the thing. Every time you try to do that, you get the first initial, like you move your hand like this, and you hear it, and then the auto tone
got it.
Tunes it out.
The mic's totally it probably picks it up as background noise, but it's a very high pitched rattle. There's some glass in there. It's got some really small BBs, but it is a very, very loud bait. And I think during the shad spawn, I mean, you see how big the thing is. That's how big the shad are when they're spawning here in our part of the country.
Yeah, they're like inch and a quarter.
It's inch and a half. You know, those shad are inch and a half, 2 inches. This is about a inch and 3/4 bait.
How deep does it dive?
It's about a 7 footer. I can get it down to about 7. But Megabass. That gets down deeper than 7, right?
No, not really. 8.
Really?
Yeah. You would think it would really dive, but it doesn't. It's not. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Probably not.
That's a little bit more dull sounding.
Yeah, a little more dull. I wouldn't be surprised if this wouldn't be a. Because see that this the one thing I noticed when you held that bait up is the bill's very narrow up by the head and gets wide away from it.
Yep.
I mean, it's very different curve in the very nose of the bait. But no, I would give this one a try. This might be something. Yeah, it's not the noise that you get out of that one.
But That's where I was getting at with this. I think that noise makes a huge difference during the shad spawn, because if you know anything about the shad spawn, when they get up there, shad make a clicking noise when they're up there, especially when they're up there spawning, because they're up there in the thousands, just all over the place in balls right on the bank, and they're all packed into a small area.
Right? Like you could damn near hear them clicking. Like if you're up there,
no,
it's like
you can hear them. They'll get on the side of your boat and you can hear them clicking.
Yeah, you can hear it like a transducer.
Yes, and I can only imagine what it sounds like under the water. Yeah. And because this bait is so loud and so high pitched, when you're winding this thing through them, everyone else is throwing a swim jig, a spinner bait, you know, they're throwing stuff that doesn't necessarily make all that much noise. When you throw this bait in there and it is just all kinds of racket, almost like it's not like an LB500, because the LB500 doesn't have the high pitch. But when you get that like real loud racket coming through there, it stands out, and they're like, what the hell is that? Where's that coming from?
It's like a tungsten clack along with like glass.
Glass. Yes.
Glass BBs. Yeah.
Yeah. They can hear it coming, and it's like they know it's coming in from a long way away, and they can hone in on it. And that thing absolutely mows them down during that time of year. I probably bought the last couple off of eBay in the last year or so in the decent colors. I think I got about 12.
And they don't have them in Japan anymore either.
They don't make it.
That's one thing you see a lot in Japan, is that they have much more broad spectrum array of crankbait types and styles, right?
They do.
Yeah. Here it's like I said at the beginning, we talk about ledge fishing. I mean, basically, the best-selling crankbaits that are on the market are all sort of designed, what I would say, in my opinion, is the Tennessee River system. And you fish a crankbait in very similar ways other places than just there, but, you know, it's that DT10, DT8, DT16, DT20 type bait. Get down there, stay down there. 3XD, 5XD, you know, the whole entire Strike King XD line. And to predate all of that, it would be the Man's Plus series.
Yeah.
Those were the first baits to have that big, wide, flared bill get you down there.
Yeah, for sure.
You know. But they're not their action, unless they're contacting bottom, is very, very wide and roly-poly. And that just does not work on suspended fish consistently. So, yeah. All right. That depth range you're talking. Yeah. Well, I did want. This is the Z3. Showed that a second ago. Again, this is bait I don't have a lot of experience with. I've been playing with it a lot. This one sort of runs dual purpose. When I have this bait, slow cranking it, warming it through cover, it is a very finessey crankbait, but it dives pretty deep. It's pretty quiet. I've really gotten to where this is sort of a trusted crankbait. The downfall is it honestly does not cast very well. None of them do. On a traditional crankbait rod, I find myself, I actually use, you're going to think I'm crazy, probably am. I have a 7-foot medium fast NRX inshore, which to the best of my ability is the same as a 7-foot medium mag bass. I mean, I even measured it. You know how I measure blanks and match stuff. It's like a G Loomis 7-foot medium fast mag bass. It's pretty soft, but it's not super slow. Then I can cast it decent, cast it accurate. But if I try to throw this on some type of composite or glass, it's like it just doesn't. I can't put it where I want to. I can't, and I'm target casting a lot. So,
does that have a transfer system?
You know, I thought it did, and I was going to correct myself later in it that I don't think this does. I thought they were supposed to. I thought they were supposed to have that LBO or L something O.
LBO, yeah. I think it is.
Yep. Yeah, it does. You got to snap it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's got that cylinder in it, but there's a magnet in there that holds it in place.
Yeah.
That's why I couldn't get it to just. And that's what keeps it from making too much noise. So that bait, something new. You know, we're all about new trinkets. They've just added some new colors in these baits this year. Pretty excited about that. It filled some holes, I thought, for us dirty water crankbait fishermen. But I know you fish these. Rock crawler. Rock crawler. A lot of baits like a rock crawler. Crap. This one, I can't tell if that's scratched or cracked. I'll fish it till it breaks. I actually like this rock crawler, the 50, the little one, for something that most people would never think of. There's a reason, probably, I only throw maybe 2 colors in this rock crawler size. This is the original one. This is just the 50. It's not the DD 50. It's just the regular 50. This is a little shaddy bait to me. It's why I have it out in Cellmate. This is such a good little juvenile white bass, whitefish, shad bait for me early in the year in cold water. I love this bait as a cold water shad bait. Now, is it the best around cover? This one's pretty decent because that bill angle's a little more tipped down versus the regular rock crawler, which is this. And the DD version of the 50 has that same bill angle of the, is that a 55?
55.
But I actually just talked to my custom painter yesterday. I'm like, I've got some rock crawlers I want you to paint in shad patterns for me because they don't sell a lot of shad patterns in a rock crawler.
No.
They keep adding stuff, but I honestly don't think this one is that popular. I don't think that the 50 MD is that popular. You can always tell what bait size is popular by how many colors are available in it.
Yep. I've got a few of them, and I really don't fish them all that much.
And I am biased. There's a lot of good rock crawler wigglewort type baits out on the market. I used wiggleworts for years, the original ones, the actual Storm ones before Normark bought them. But this comes with really good hooks. They did have a little bit of a tuning issue with the first batch. So if we've tried it when they first came out and you had a tuning issue with them, that was a known issue and they did correct that. Since that first batch of the original rock crawler, I haven't had to tune one, unless I had fished it a while. But I am biased to them. I mean, I call Spro and I pretty much know by voice everybody that answers the phone there. So may have bought a few hooks through them over the years. But these baits, I mean, just when they came out with this, like the wigglewort was almost forgotten.
100%.
And the story that I was told is that McClellan had been begging them to do this, something like this for years. And I don't know how many years it took to develop this. I've seen some workshops like a year.
I would love to get Mike on. I would love to get Mike on to tell that story. I know he's told it before, but I'd love to get him on to tell that story again.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know Mike. I've never talked to Mike, but I'm sure that I know someone.
We can get hold of him.
Yeah. This bait for me is just the river cranker's dream, the rock flat cranking dream crankbait. This bait is meant to get down there and rut around like a pig in bottom.
And bounce and dart and
that's, yeah. You got to get it down there. And then if you want a bait to teach you how to do what we were talking about before, where every crank's deliberate, throw this bait on a 6-foot rock flat, a regular rock crawler, the original rock crawler, 6-foot rock flat, sit at your boat landing on high pool and crank it over the concrete of the boat landing. You will learn what hitting hard bottom feels like with a crankbait. It is made for that. It does it better, in my opinion, than any of it. It is just enough unstable to do the right weird shit when it needs to. The only thing I can say with this is not a speed crank. you can overcrank it, and it's just going to just try to dig harder. It's just going to grab water and try to peel its way deeper into whatever, and you will grind that bill down like nobody's business. The harder you crank it, the more likely it's not going to be erratic and this and that. This bait, you've got to get down and then crank at a speed that just maintains its position at depth. And then let it hit stuff and load away is the way I look at it.
I will say I probably fish that bait faster than most, but there is absolutely a limit to it. Mm-hmm. You can push the limit to it, but you will feel that limit too.
Yeah.
The more you throw that crank, you will get to feel, okay, I'm pushing it. I need to slow it down a little bit. And you're going to feel, you almost feel that thing going left and right around stuff.
Yeah. I really think you do.
You do. It'll hit a rock and jut out to the right or left around that rock or off of that stick. It really goes left and right a lot. And that's one of the things, dredging bottom like that, when we were talking about, you don't just cast and wind. It's not just coming in a straight line. And I've referred to this similarity with the koiki to a glide bait. When you're fishing a glide bait, that bait is traveling so far left to right on the way back to the boat. It is moving a long distance, not front or not end of the cast to you, but it's moving a long distance in the travel on the way back to the boat. Your rock crawler is doing the same exact thing. It's jumping left and right the whole way back to the boat. And those fish are just kind of like, if they're following it, they're going left and right. Okay, when's it going to make the wrong move? And it'll ricochet off a rock and boom, they grab it.
And I think a lot of baits, when we see a crankbait, and obviously line diameter more than pound test, but line diameter matters how deep it'll dive. But you'll buy one crankbait and it says it dives 6 feet. I get DT6. And I know if I throw a 10-pound FC crank on it, I can get that thing damn near touching 8.
8. Yep.
And that's the depth. That's the depth off of my trolling motor, which is already a foot in the water. So
exactly.
The rock crawler, I would say similar. It's like it says it dives so deep, but in honesty, I can't hardly ever get it to dive as deep as it says it can dive. But I think where the DT6 rating is, it's rated at the depth it should be fished at. Yes, you can get it to 8, but it really excels at 6 or 7.
Yes.
That rock crawler, they say, like, this one's what? They say it's like 10 to 12 or something. Like they say it's deep.
I can get it to 12 on a very long cast on 10-pound fluoro.
Yeah.
But that is its absolute max. But that's not where it should be fished.
No, it should be fished in 6 to 8.
10 is the max.
Yeah. That's I guess where I was getting at is whatever you choose when you pick up a crankbait, if this bait excels when it wants to dive through the bottom of the lake, that's when it's going to do the things across the bottom that you want it to do. Yep. That's going to be what allows it to go left and right, to scoot this way and that way as you reel it in. If it's barely touching bottom, soon as it scoots left and right, it can't dig anymore. It starts doing this. It's coming up left, coming up high right. You want to fish the crankbait when you're fishing anything digging bottom. My rule of thumb's always been 2 feet. If I can make that bait get 10 feet down, I don't want to fish it in less than 8 feet of water or more than 8 feet of water, because I want that bait to always be straight down on. Once it comes off cover, I want it to go back down. If it's got to go around a rock, I want it to shimmy around and stay down. I don't want it to shimmy up this way. Because to me, when you have that and it has to shimmy up left or right, it's basically fishing like a crankbait out of tune. It's not doing what a crankbait is supposed to do anymore.
Yeah.
So keep in mind when you buy a crankbait, they're not all rated the same. Some of them's giving you a max depth. Some of them's giving you a proper depth range of fishability. I feel like a DT6 or the DT series is telling you this is the depth it should be fished in. Most crankbaits are rated based on like 10-pound test, maybe 12. I do feel like the Spro stuff's rated on max depth. Not that that's a bad thing as long as you understand that. But I think that's an important crankbait tip. Always fish a bait that exceeds the depth of the water that you're fishing when you're trying to crank that bait through bottom.
100%.
You know? I think that's it for medium cranks for me.
I've got two more. This one is
Here, I'll give you, before you start that, I'm going to give you a hot tip. Anybody buying a new boat, tell them you want a padded cooler lid. Because if you sit on this cooler doing a podcast, or you sit on this cooler lid rigging rods for a couple hours, your butt's going to get sore if it's not padded. Just telling you.
Does your butt hurt right now?
Hell yeah. Yeah.
Well,
I've been sitting here for 2 hours.
Either, is he?
Huh?
Nothing.
What's that? Oh, did you say is Marcus not here?
I said your butt hurts and Marcus isn't even there.
Oh, yeah. Marcus isn't here. Yeah. That's funny because he told me. Did he tell you about his new boat deal? Mm-mm. Oh yeah, he tells me all the time how great it is that his cooler lid on that Phoenix is padded.
Nice. All right, I'm going to touch on one. I don't throw this bait anywhere near as much as I used to, but it has absolutely stood the test of time. It's very situational for me. It is mainly cold water. I don't pick it up in warm water very much, and I probably should pick it up in warm water more than I do. One of the reasons why I don't throw it very much is it doesn't cast for shit. But it's a standby. And everybody who's ever thrown them catches them on it. The old Shad Rap, number 9 Shad Rap.
You're a walleye fisherman. You use night crawlers too?
But shad spawn, early spring, late winter, water in the 40s, 50s. When you get into that 60-degree range, those fish are starting to crash the bank, and I'd rather be throwing a square bill.
Yeah.
But you have to have some size of a Shad Rap in the boat. I really like the big one because it casts better. And it seems to get bigger quality bites. This is the 9. This is the big one.
Yeah. Like and historically, this number 7 is the one, right?
Yeah.
Historically, this number 7 has been the one.
For me, this size Shad Rap has gotten me multiple big fish checks in tournaments. It is a big bite getter. It has a presence in the water. Yeah, it's a very tight wiggle. It's not a presence in the water like your rock crawler. You know that hard digging. It's not pushing a lot of water, but because of the size of the bait, it is a bigger presence, and it seems to get bigger bites.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I really like throwing the 9. I've got 7s in the boat too, but I really like throwing the 9.
For whatever reason here, the Shad Rap is not the bait for bass fishing in the north that it is in other places of the country.
No, it's not.
I don't know if that's because our cold water is super clear and the colors just don't. I don't know. It's never been something. Maybe it's because of the best time of when we should be throwing it. Our fish are blue slimed up, sitting and wintering, not moving, and that window of rate is just so small. And with that being said, I know tons of people that throw Shad Raps. Like it is that time of year when I would say it should be good here for our pre-spawn fish. There's so many walleye guys out there throwing Shad Raps around that, and they'd never catch a bass on them, at all, hardly. So I don't know. It is definitely weird. I don't know what the magic sauce in that or why that isn't the way it is. But I will say something that, and I will say I've experienced the same thing with this bait, but I know in the South, this is a very popular Shad Rap alternative to the number 7 Shad Rap. And this is the Spro Little John MD. It's sort of weird. I mean, look at the bill on that.
Yeah,
That is like nothing like any bill it's but
it's
it
definitely not
has a
Shad
really
Rappy.
nice. It has a very very nice. Yeah, I mean, it has a
Yeah,
very very nice action on water. I've caught some fish on it, summer cranking, suspended fish, but I've never early in the year caught them. But if you like a shad wrap and you want a downsize one that's castable, because this is the size of a number 5 shad wrap, it's a good little option. Very finessey action. But again, like I said,
all right. Why don't we get into the deeper? What do you have for deeper?
All right, deeper. Well, in what regards do you want to do deeper? Because we're getting into that time of series of crankbait stuff where my crankbaits are more dictated by presentation style than depth.
Just go with what you got, and we'll go with it.
All right. So
okay, I'll say that I will say this to start. When I get into that 12 to 15 plus range, most of my cranking in that depth is in the summer and the fall.
Okay, I'm actually going to talk about another medium crankbait.
Okay, go for it before we get into the deep stuff.
Everybody's going to be like, "You're bought and paid for by Spro."
Yeah, right.
I'm only bought, not paid.
Yeah.
This is a Little John XL. So back to your Fritz side or whatever, and I thought of this, and that's why I'm like, oh, I better say this now. This is not a real deep diving crankbait. You can throw it on heavy line. I found the best rod for this. I felt like the only way I could explain it was I felt like I had an electronic connection to what the crankbait was doing with that 906 CB MHX.
Yeah.
Out of all the stuff we've talked about that I use, that you've never used, whatever, I want you to buy some of these. John's got himself a little sunfish pattern in here in this bait. I want you to get some of these for your bluegill pattern you're on, because this is a bigger bait than that Fritz side. You can throw it a country mile, and if you throw it on heavy pound test,
range is that?
Shallow.
Like 6 foot?
No, I want to say it's deeper than 6. While I talk, Google it. But you can throw it, like I said, you can throw it on 16-pound line or 20-pound test line. Throw it on heavier line once.
Got it.
To keep it above the grass. Now, but this would be good on that outside grass edge. To give you something different there. This is a very situational bait. I mean, that bait's pretty big. I mean, it's a 70.
So that's a bluegill profile for sure.
It is. I mean, you can see this one's pretty trued up.
Yeah.
I've caught a lot of fish on that bait. All right. Okay, medium diving crankbaits. So you were saying seasonal. For me, it's not always seasonal. For me, it's as much what type of crankbait I'm doing. So if I'm on the Bay of Green Bay, my odds are I'm speed cranking. So now I'm playing with a series of baits at varying depths. So I'm going anything from medium depth to medium deep to deep. Or I'm dealing with dredger type crankbaits, something I'm going to fish on a ledge or in the main river channel stuff. And again, I'm hitting 3 different depth ranges, same series of baits. So that's why when you said, what do you have next? Well, I think it's less confusing to go through 3 baits that are the same style, varying depths and why I fish them, than to go through 3 baits, different reasons at once. So I'll start with the dredgers. 3XD, which is your medium deep diver. It's your 8 foot, I'm going to say 10 tops. 5XD is your 10 to 12, right? Basically same bait. 6XD. I have caught a lot of river smallmouth on this 6XD.
Really?
I guarantee you a lot of people have not thrown this bait. But back to what we were talking about earlier with the fat wrap, that old deep rattling fat wrap was not any smaller than this bait in reality.
Yeah,
That
you're
is
right. Well, it's not as
fall,
big around, but yeah.
a fall smallmouth, 3 pounds, has no problem choking this.
For sure.
2.5 pounder will try to eat it, no problem. 2 pounder will try to eat it. But these baits are all back to that. They're meant to get down there and be worked across the bottom. I don't fish this bait. The 6XD does work okay, but I don't for suspended fish. The 5XD not so much, but the 6XD does seem to work decent on a suspended crankbait bite. But way better than anything. These baits are just work good for that traditional ledge style fishing. They're all going to give you a fairly similar action. This one's a little tighter and faster than the 3 and the 5 is. But, I mean, these baits have been around for how long? I mean, since we watched Kevin Van Dam, pretty much, hey, guess what? I won a tournament. Here's our new bait that I just won on. And he was doing it,
Yeah.
They're not expensive. They don't break the bank. They're cheap enough you can justify saying, I'm going to put different hooks on it. If you fish or live where there's a reservoir, you're ledge fishing, you need to get your bait down there, you want to get into crankbaiting, I don't think bang for your buck there's anything better than a Strike King crankbait. Yeah, you might have to tune one here and there. There's a million videos on how to tune a crankbait. I'm not going to go into it, but you literally need a needle nose pliers and you can do it. It's easy to do.
I 100% agree. Bang for your buck, you cannot get better than a Strike King crankbait.
Yeah. And you can buy them about anywhere.
Yes.
If you have
Very
a
available
sells fishing tackle, they have them.
And they're never sold out.
Yeah. And the hooks honestly aren't that bad.
No, they're not. I'd upgrade them, but they're not that bad.
Yeah. I mean, they're not much different. I mean, they're a VMC treble hook. I mean, they're not some random factory bait hook.
They're not a premium hook, but they're not a bad hook for sure.
Right. Now, I'll get into my suspended.
Real quick. Real quick though. Before we move on, you mentioned hooks, and it brought me right back to the Fritz side. Yeah. I want to touch on hooks really quick before we move on to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
When I was out these last couple weeks cranking with the Fritz side, I had a lot of fish slapping at the bait because I'm banging off of they're trees. It's not brush. They're trees. There's small trees, big trees. The water level in this lake is dropping a foot a week. Like it's like 80 foot from full pool, and they're pulling the thing way, way down, just like all of our other lakes. We got almost nothing left. But when it ricochets off of these trees, they're chasing bluegill around there. They're slapping at it sometimes because it kicks off of a tree and darts, whatever direction they're coming up and swiping. I hooked a couple fish in the top of the head. And because of that, I switched out to one of my favorite trebles. And I think I've mentioned this before, that Aaron Martin's Nano Finesse treble, by far one of my favorite trebles across the board. The VMC Redline is almost identical to that. So I switched it out to the VMC Redline. I didn't have any issues losing fish. Well, I can't say that. I lost 2 fish in the tournament that possibly cost me the tournament. And it might have had something to do with the hooks. But the day that I went out before Father's Day, I lost a couple fish because of those hooks. I'm 90% sure it was because of that Redline treble. I don't know what it was. As soon as I put a Fritz side on with the stock hooks, I nailed every single one of them. They were buried, and there's no way those fish were coming off. And I don't know. I don't know if it has to do with hook angle. It's not the angle, because that Redline treble it's right in line. I've got.
Is it a round bend or? Is the Redline treble a round bend?
No, it's not a round bend. It's that O'Shaughnessy
Like what a
at
gammy,
O'Shaughnessy.
like what the gammy Aaron Martin's G finesse is. Yeah. Okay.
It's the same. It's the same thing. It's almost identical.
Let
it's
me
not
ask
a
you
round
this: that one you just
Yeah.
held up, is that G finesse or is that red line treble?
This is G finesse. Let me see if I can hold this still long enough for it to focus. This is G finesse.
Yeah. Yeah. Where's the red line? Got a red line?
It's the same hook. I don't know that I have a red line here, but it's the same hook. It's the same bend.
It might not be. It might. Well, I'm not worried about the bend. Actually.
Yeah, you're right. I don't have one here. But this is the Fritz side.
What's the barb profile of the Fritz side treble versus the G finesse?
It's a bigger barb.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say significantly, but it is a bigger barb for sure, and that might be why.
Yeah. The deeper throat of the round bend. One treble hook that I haven't played with that I thought that might be a good crankbait treble hook is that outsider treble hook that Spro did with the one Johnston brother.
I don't know that I've seen those.
Yeah, it's almost got like an out. It's almost got an out point. Remember some of those old spark point treble hooks where it was like the O'Shaughnessy, but then instead of the points being parallel with the shank, they just pointed out. You see the hook like that on like the Teckle Honker Frog or the Reaction Innovation Swamp Donkey Frog, where that point at the barb sort of angles up away. Yep. It doesn't curve. I thought about maybe playing with that, especially on jerk baits, but I don't know. I would, man, crankbait fishing is one of those things where if the color's a little off, you just lose fish because they just don't get hooked good.
But that's the weird thing about this last weekend. Some of them had it down the throat. Some of them had it in the top of the head. You know, you just, and you're catching, and it's 25, 30 fish in a day. So you're getting plenty of bites to be able to like get an idea.
Yeah.
I don't think it was color.
You're throwing too stiff a rod. We talked about that. That's the problem. They tried to eat it and couldn't eat it good.
That might be.
We're gonna blame you, We're gonna blame you, not the hooks.
Dude, but I love that 905 for that bait. I've never had that problem.
I don't think that's that
rod.
I don't think that rod's too stiff for that bait. That's probably awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. It was a funky one, but the second that I picked up a bait with the stock hooks, I don't know. I nailed every single one of them. So my advice: do not change out the hooks on that Fritz side. They're very good.
I don't like changing the treble hooks on any bait. To be honest with you, I mean, a bait's got to be really special with really cruddy hooks. And if I do change the treble hooks, it's for a very specific reason, like jerk baits, is because I'm trying to impart more weight into the bait. I keep stock treble hooks for all the baits. Like I know what's stock on a Lucky Craft Pointer 100. It's just a VMC normal treble hook, no different than what's on those Strike Kings. I'd rather those brand new sharp are better than most bait hooks after you've beat them across the body of the bait for 100 casts anyway. So I just rather keep to the stock components. That's what that bait's designed around, blah, blah, blah. Unless I need to downsize a hook. And I know me and you both are going to talk about that in one form or another in a minute. All right.
Yep.
We're going to talk about then. Do you have a dredger crankbait that before I go into my next, do you want to talk about that before I go into my next style of cranking?
Well, what depth range is your next style of cranking?
And it's covering everything from 6 feet to 16 because it's style of cranking.
Now I'm down into like 14 plus.
Okay.
So
well,
why don't you get started?
All right. So I've got weird another Spro bait. This is a baby.
You.
Yeah. You think I'd get these for free as much as I talk about them. Baby DD.
What's up, John? You're welcome.
Yeah. John Cruz, send me some new buzz baits. That buzz bait looks pretty badass, actually. I love this bait for suspended fish. That's what I'm going to talk about. Suspended cranking. They do make the Little John DD. It's pretty deep diving crankbait. I do use it very rarely. Like it's got to be really prolonged hot period of summer. Thermocline's pushing 22 feet. Because I'm literally fishing fish that are sitting down near that thermocline. I'm trying to crank 4 to 6 feet above them. That's what, when I'm fishing suspended fish with a crankbait, I'm trying to present my bait 4 to 6 feet above the top of their head. So I'll mark arches, 22 feet of water, and they're anywhere from 18 feet to 16 feet. I'm on a 12 to 14 foot diving crankbait. If I don't get them to react to that, then I will go into something that pushes down into them. But I always try to err over the top of their head before I push down into them. Or if you start where you got a bait that's cranking down into them, to go shallower because you'll get bit halfway down your crank. You're at the right depth when almost every bite comes at the apex of your depth. So about a third of the way into your crank, it should be at max depth. If you're getting bit before that 1/3 point has passed, you just go to a shallow crankbait. You probably catch more fish. So that one, and I like this bait. This is another one I throw. We talked about this one already. The Little John XL. I like these bait because they're very tight. Very tight. They don't wiggle a whole lot this way. They have a little flash that way, but from underneath, they have a very native Wisconsin bait fishy type profile, I think, from when the fish are underneath. But for years, my favorite ones were the full-size flat CB from Lucky Craft. No, this is not a color you could buy. This is a bleached out color. This was actually caramel apple when I bleached it out. I would throw, this is the D12. I'd throw the DR, the D12, and occasionally the D20. They're very similar. You're familiar with the Deep Little End, DD14, DD22. Similar in action to those baits. Works very good on suspended fish, but this doesn't pull as hard as a Norman. Same with these. They don't pull as hard. I have a box that is just labeled suspended crankbaits. These baits don't suspend. I'm fishing fish that are truly suspending off of the sides of points, main basin. No one's probably going to do it because they're going to get their cheater stick and cheater box out and cheater fish for them, right? Yep. AKA forward fishing sonar. And I don't blame you. I would too. But that's, if you want to try, who's to say you can't forward facing sonar them with a crankbait? And probably not a whole lot of people doing it, but it matters. You do not want to go throwing this bait at a suspended bass the same way you would this bait. They're going to dive the same depth. Their overall size, not a whole lot different, but that bill shape makes a huge difference in the action of that bait. This one's made to dig that bottom, get down there on that ledge. This one, I know they fish them that way, but I feel these baits really excel when you're trying to catch that fish that's 16 feet deep, suspended over 25, 30 feet of water.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's
real quick.
Yep.
Before we get any further, those last 3 baits that you held up in that color, hold them up again side by side.
In which color? In my old citrus shad pattern.
Keep them there, because there is something about that color.
Yeah.
And this is the next bait I was going to talk about. This is the old fat-free shad. And when I say old fat-free shad, I mean the old fat-free shad. You cannot get this bait in this color. They make a very similar color, but the paint is not the same. It is bleached out. It is very bright. It's not as green as the current color is. And you see the similarity side by side with my bait and Curt's baits. There is something about that bleached out, bright citrus shad that is special.
Yeah. This one's bleached out on the dash of a truck.
Yeah. And that's what a lot of guys are doing now with the new version of this.
Yeah.
But I don't think it turns out the same.
No, it's close. I mean, you look at the backs on these. I mean, they're even a little different. You can see one's a little darker blue. I mean, you're just going to get that at times. But
yeah,
this bait, this one right here, is definitely more washed out, but it's been fished a lot more. It's spent time on the deck of my boat. That blue looks a little darker, but the chartreuse, the white is all a little more washed out. I have some of those Excalibur crankbaits that you're holding up there, and that's what the key is. The Excalibur crankbait. Those are not the original treble hooks on it. You've changed those.
100%.
But I remember when I was a kid, I'm sure you do, like the only place you could buy them Excalibur crankbaits was Walmart. And the big in the big 6x9 black carded package. Like the thing took up 10 times the amount of space it needed to. Walmart had to hate it. Like I can only get 6 on an end cap. I should be able to get 60 on an end cap.
I got 4 or 5 more hanging up on my pegs in the garage, but of the old ones, I found them on eBay because there's something special about that color, dude.
I've got so many of those old crankbaits that I'm just like, you know what, these are cool. I'm going to keep them. Sort of childhood memories. You know, I was 8, 9 years old. Everybody else trying to get He-Man and G.I. Joe at the Walmart when they went there with their mom. I'm in the fishing department ogling, you know, the old Signature Series Head and Spook, you know, like the Jimmy Houston Torpedo and all that stuff, and the Excalibur Bill Dance Signature, fat-free shads. And what people don't actually understand is those original ones, the body of the plastic was of different plastic. They had a different sound. It sounds different.
100%.
And I don't know. I was told, I don't know this. I know this about Storm. The biggest reason the Storm crankbait changed, like the Wigglewort, is because they could no longer use the same plastic. Like it was an EPA thing or whatever. You couldn't get, you know, causes cancer type shit. So they couldn't use the same plastic anymore. And I think a lot of the baits over the years, why they changed and people feel like they don't work like they used to, is because people don't realize how much we get dictated into. You can't use this, you can't use that. Like everybody's familiar with lead or the tungsten, you can't get it, or lead, you can't use it. But you have no clue how much they mess around and change and force. And a manufacturer just forced to change the plastic formula. It might be a small change.
But it makes all the difference.
There's a lot of fluorocarbon that's been reformulated in the last 5 years because you can't get the same fluorocarbon components. You know, when they were talking about getting rid of all the PFEs, you know, that was going to change. People have no clue. Like all this new finish that we have on all our hooks that everybody's gotten to, you know, whether it's the G finesse stuff, the red line stuff, the industry starts supporting that. And there was a big scare 2 years ago that was all going to go away, and we're going to be back to black nickel on everything. You know, so don't blame a manufacturer and say that, oh, they cheapened it up. Well, sometimes they can't.
They don't have a choice.
I mean, if any of you guys that are watching fish dirty jigs for forever and a day, like you'll notice that right around middle of COVID or during COVID, you noticed a lot of the green pumpkin tone skirts changed. Well, not only did the skirt change, but the paint changed. My skirt manufacturer, who is not in the United States, and my paint supplier, who is in the United States, couldn't get the one, I think it was yellow oxide or red oxide toner to make my green pumpkin. And you got to, when you take that toner out, you have to completely reformulate the entire rest of the paint or silicone dye pigment to try to achieve the same color, and good luck getting it perfect. And then you start dealing with, oh, the old one was real consistent if you're a little off, but the new one, if you're a little off, it's really bad. And yeah, and it's definitely not for being cheap. More times than not.
Yeah.
Anyway, side note. All right.
Well, besides color, since I've held this bait up already, besides color, in pretty much any size of this crank, this thing's a flat out fish catcher.
Yeah.
Fat free shad. Excalibur fat free shad.
So they had the baby. It's been a long time since I used fat free shad. So they had the baby, right?
Yeah, they have the baby.
Then there was two sizes
the
and
numbers.
then the biggest, right?
There was a fingerling.
And that was the baby. That was the small one, right?
Yeah. There was a shad, and this is the big shad. This you can get down to 14.
Is there one bigger than that?
There is one bigger than this.
Yeah.
That'll get down to like 15, 16.
That one and the one right below it was probably my first crankbait, like big, deep crankbaits. Like a lot of guys would probably say Norman. Yeah. Mine was those. They're throwing it on a rod that had no business throwing a crankbait. And honestly, I caught fish digging bottom with that bait. I caught fish suspended with that crankbait.
Yep.
There was that color. And basically that crawdad that had that same holographic on the side. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they had a shad.
I pulled that one out, but yeah, that's pretty much all I have.
But number one color that I had though was not that color. It was the original shad that had the little bit of
almost like
yellow.
American shad.
Yeah, it had like a hint of yellow, hint of red, hint of blue on it. But you look at the new version of that, and it's like, holy cow! Like it used to be a hint of it, and now it's like, oh my Lord!
Well, that's
right.
That's what
Same
they
with
did
that one.
Dude.
Yeah.
This is so washed out, and this is how it came. And now it's like, dude, there's so much. This is bright. This is bright in the regard of like, almost neon. The new version is bright in regards to so much color to it. Everything stands out. It's just different. This is a neon bait that glows in the water, and they flat out freaking choke it. Especially in the summertime.
That is what it looks like now. Hold yours up again.
Yes. I'm glad you brought that up. Totally
roll
different.
It more. So that's the current citrus shad. You can't see how blue it is on the back, but it's way more blue. It's
there's a lot more blue. But there's a lot more green in that.
Yep, and there's a lot more green in this. And then they don't even show that shad in stock.
But that bait is for decades. That thing has been, especially in the Western United States, there's been so many tournaments won on that bait.
Look at all the damage Timmy Horton did with those.
Yeah, dude, I know.
I don't know how many guys remember Tim Horton or not.
He was picking up pizzas early, right? That was
I don't know if he did the
shad bite.
I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure he came in like 3 hours early in a tournament and ordered pizza and sat at the dock. And I'm pretty sure that was a fat free shad.
It was on Champlain or Oneida. But I don't remember if that was a fat free shad deal or not. I don't even see. I'm actually on Pradco's website. But I'm going to say it. Pradco, fix the fat free shad and citrus shad and fix that old school original shad pattern that had the red, yellow, blue hue on the back. Like, quit making it look so dang bright.
I've heard it
washed out
about it that they've heard it. They know it's wrong.
I would hope so. I would hope.
All right, let's move on.
Hang on 1 second. I got to deal with something
before we get to complaining, because there's a lot of people that our last episode had a lot of complaining.
Well, Fix it, Pradco. Like you guys.
Fix it, Pradco.
Fix it, Pradco.
Do you want me to move on to the next bait?
No, just hang on 1 second. Let me just deal with what I got.
Hurry up. Don't make dead time.
Okay. Next thing I'm going to go into weed cranking. Because I know you don't have a whole lot to say about this.
No.
Weed cranking is something that I know a lot of people don't do. And when I say weed cranking, like we are weed cranking 12, 16, 20 foot deep weed edges. So the main weed bed might top out at 4 feet, 3 feet, 2 feet. You know, it's not mats. We're not cranking the outside edge of mats, but I know you're familiar with that outside weed edge that most guys would maybe run a drop shot down, whip around a Carolina rig, crank way off the end of it. Weed cranking, I could probably do a whole podcast on just weed cranking. But, you know, some baits have gotten discontinued. Thanks, Pradco. I used to throw a DD14 a lot, weed cranking. But the last I looked, they were discontinued. But
they are.
Norman crankbaits. I don't know what it all is about a Norman crankbait that makes it do. I said that earlier. I am not a crankbait designer, a crankbait user. This bait I really like if I'm over the top of the grass, but this isn't. I'm going to throw it in there because it is a Norman that I do use on that outside edge, but it doesn't do what the other two I'm about to show. But this will come through grass. You can worm it through the grass, and that's where it's so important. Every handle crank's deliberate, and you're going to weed crank very differently than you do any other crankbait bite. You're going to down power your rod one whole power for what you'd normally throw this bait on, and you are going to throw braid to a leader or straight braid. And about anybody's 20-pound test probably is the best, as long as it's coarse. You do not want super smooth braid. You want that braid to cut the grass as easily as possible. So I'm talking you're cranking through eelgrass, cabbage, milfoil, coontail, weed edges. So
what
weed
braid
edge
would you suggest when you're talking coarse braid? If people don't understand that,
I really like SX1. I've used 832 before. For years I used 832. Power Pro works. You want a 4 or 6 carrier, 5 carrier. You don't want an 8 carrier, 10 carrier type line, you know. Yeah, if you're punching or doing something like that and you want to reduce noise in the water, yeah, that braid is important. But with the whole point of this is you have that lighter rod so you don't over crank your crankbait into the weeds. These next two baits, they're both Norman crankbaits. They back up. And they literally, like, comes in, you stop it, and it backs up like this. It doesn't spiral. It just backs up like this. And you're essentially crankbaiting a bluegill pattern through the grass.
So what he's talking about with that coarser braid is it's acting like a saw blade and cutting through the grass.
Yeah. Yeah. What you don't want is to try to throw this thing through a weed bed. Yeah. You're going to get disappointed real quick. You need to have stuff. You want to crank things that have inconsistent edges, little points, little fingers. You know, you want to crank those edges that aren't hard walls, because that you can do with any crankbait and just not touch the weeds. This is all about going through those sparse areas in a technique that the fish don't hardly ever see. Deep little end. D22. Deep little end's probably the one I use the most. It's got the right depth on that 20-pound braid. It gets down deep. You know, I'm hitting 12 feet with this if I want. But really, you're weed cranking. If the fish are down at the base of the weeds, 1, it's going to be hard to crank the bait through it, and 2, you might as well fish a jig or a sea rig, you know, or you call bubba rig. This is probably my number 1 go-to weed crank and crankbait. It's the only time I use these crankbaits. It's the only time I pull that box out is to go weed cranking. I do it here on a lot of the shallower, natural, weedy lakes where you get a lot of the lake is that 20 foot of water, but anything 12 feet shallower's got vegetation. And yeah, it's something I know I told you, like, you really need to try this. If you got those fish are feeding on bluegills because there's no shad in that body of water and they like eating a crankbait there, I would definitely do this. And it is, you will be learning how to do this. You will be a better crankbait fisherman cranking rocks or wood by doing this, because it takes the sensitivity of the braid to feel what you're doing. You have to learn to be patient. You have to learn that, okay, that's the other thing with that coarser braid, you get more of a return back of that you're coming through grass, and you can start to feel that bait is coming against it. This bait also pulls really hard relative to its size and depth compared to other baits. So you have a very positive feel of what's going on down there, and you learn how to be deliberate real quick. And you learn how to be accurate with your cast. Best thing that ever happened to me for weed cranking, 360. You know, and I'd say if you don't 100%. Have 360, landscape mode on any forward-facing sonar, you can, and then place your cast. I would say, if anything, guys are better at that than they were ever in fishing. Guys are really accurate in open water casting. So that's that. And then my last one's going to be speed cranking.
You held up the DD22. There's a reason. I've got 3 of them here. And I don't use it. I will use it weed edge cranking, but I dredge it more than you do.
Yep.
It's a dredging crankbait too.
Yeah, the DD22, you can get down there. You just can't get into the weeds as much. That's why I like the DD14.
No, exactly.
Had the size, had the power of the size of the bait, but didn't have the depth of the 22. Yeah.
So the 3 colors that I throw in the DD22 a lot here are table rock, summertime color, something, especially the desert lakes where, you know, you're dealing with smallies. That chartreuse and purple really stands out. They murder that thing. I think the best color ever made in that crankbait, lavender shad. I don't know how well you can. There we go. That's a little bit better right there.
Lavender shad's a great color.
I think it's the best color they ever made in that crankbait.
That is such a good,
very bone,
good shad pattern. Crankbait.
It is. And then early spring, winter, if I want fish to react down in that, you know, 16 to 18 foot range, and they're eating crawdads. I don't remember exactly what this craw pattern's called, but it's for the ones who can't see it, they're listening on Apple or Spotify. Red on the bottom, black on the top, but it's got red glitter all the way through.
Yeah, 2/3 of it's black. It's a black with red crankbait.
It's a red belly. It's a red belly. It's a black crankbait with a red belly and red glitter all the way through. But those 3 colors are pretty much what I throw in the DD22.
I see something right away, too, that I didn't touch on that bait that you just held up. This is a stock DD22. Look at the hook hangers on that thing. Try to get it so it's stock hooks versus those hooks you see on Adams. Guys that are listening, not watching. Adams hooks are downsized. That is something that I never thought of.
One size smaller.
That I learned from you is when you're doing weed cranking too. That's where I do change treble hooks, because absolutely 100% that treble hook being downsized definitely aids in you worming that through the vegetation.
And not just grass, but brush too.
Yeah. So you talked about colors here.
And
that whole week.
To piggyback off the hook size thing, this Nishine lure, the Nishine lure company that I was talking about, the Japanese company, this is a size 8 treble on this crank. This crank, I'll hold it next to the Fritz side. Very similar in size to the Fritz side, but look at the size difference in hooks.
And that's a 6 or a 5 on
size
the
8. Side. This is a 5. 5 and an 8. And that's the whole reason I was the last time I was cranking with this crankbait here, I was cranking brush. and
Yeah.
you hang up way less when you go down 1 or 2 sizes.
Yeah.
Yes, certain crankbaits, you will affect the action by going too small. Not all of them. You have to learn which crankbaits you can do it with and which ones you can't.
I would say though that I guess I never came across a crankbait that didn't work fine downsizing a treble hook. You upsize a treble hook, you start dealing with fouling. If you'd use a bigger, shorter shank, like KVD was big on that. I'm going to use a bigger, short shank, Mustad triple grip, or whatever. And it's like you really mess with it. And I think if anything that's going to mess with your crankbait, adding weight hurts it more than subtracting weight. Because
100% agree.
How a crankbait works, it's the flotation of the body against the drag of the bill cutting through the water relative to the line tie. So soon as you take and tip that bait more horizontal by adding more weight to the body relative to your line tie by a bigger treble hook, you change that dynamic. Taking weight away just makes the bait float more butt up, and it just seems to work better.
But downsizing a hook will create a little bit more roll. If a bait is keeled so much with the belly weight, if you downsize too much, it will roll more because you have less weight in the bottom of the bait.
I can't say that I've ever noticed a one size smaller make a difference.
No, but if you go 2 or 3,
yeah,
it's going to change it.
I've seen one size bigger completely wreck the action on a crankbait.
100%.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So my point is that you're okay going down a size. And most of the baits, because it seems what the consumer wants, is they want the biggest hook they can get on there without it hanging up all the time. And I feel like most crankbaits you buy should have a size smaller, at least rear treble hook, if not front treble hook as well. But all right, let's talk about speed cranking. It's something that a mutual friend of mine tried to tell me for years was such a good technique. And
mutual friend of ours.
Of ours. I don't want to name drop. But
and he ain't wrong.
He seems to know what he's talking about most of the time, no matter how bad I don't want to agree that he knows what he's talking about most of the time. I'm just going to say that his buddy taught him how to do it. It wasn't him. It was that guy named Tim. I think this was Tim's idea. I don't think it was Matt's. Anyway, those guys have done a lot about this. So if you want to know how to speed crank, go watch Tactical Bassin video about how to speed crank. They even designed a crankbait to do it.
And I'm going to hold it up in a minute.
And you're going to hold it up. I refuse to buy one because I just don't want to give them the satisfaction that I went and bought one. I'm like, you can't send me one? They won't send me one.
And I'm not as dumb as you because I catch fish on it.
I don't care that much. I'm stubborn. But anyway, speed cranking. That's one thing that this little Z crank, back to this one. This is the Z3. This is a mean little shallower water finesse speed crankbait.
So show the bill on.
I called them and said, this thing, you need to try it. Because they had never done a video on it. I'm like, this is legit.
Show the bill on that crankbait a little bit better.
There's the bill.
No. Oh, yes.
Long and narrow.
That's why.
Yep. You're right. But look at the angle of it.
Yep.
You'll notice that angle more and more in a second. To me, because this is sort of like the original speed crankbaits from those guys. I want to make sure, and I read these so that I don't misquote myself. Deep X 300 and Deep 6 Megabass.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really not that big a bait, but look at that bill angle. Look at that bill shape. Long and narrow.
Yep.
This day in, day out is probably my favorite. The Deep X 300. I've played with the 100 and the 200. Seems like I can get her done with this bait. The other ones have a little more goofy when you get into the 100 and 200 goofy bill angle and stuff. It's more pointed down.
Yeah, it's a little bit more angled.
So, and again, I'm not going to go into details how to do it. Your rod matters. I know Matt is definitely big on the whole braid to a leader on it. I've never seen where I've had to do it, but I also don't do it as much as I'd like to, honestly. It's I'm not going to talk about where I do it, to be honest. And then this is a discontinued bait. This is a Muscle Deep 15 Plus from Jackal. And again, you're in that narrow bill world. These baits don't pull as hard as you think they're going to pull with that big long bill.
They don't. They wind easy.
You put this on there, it pulls. This one pulls like a horse. This one doesn't.
But hold those up side by side again real quick.
Well, hang on. This one doesn't pull like a horse, but pulls way harder than that one does. But nothing pulls harder than that DD22.
But notice how round those bills are at the front.
Yeah.
And that Jackal on the right,
yeah,
it's much more pointed.
Yeah. But the Mega Bass is rounded more.
Yeah, but it's not as wide.
Yeah, true. But yeah, speed cranking is definitely a deal.
So
what made sense to me once I seen it on the water was it was like taking the next step with a jerk bait. You know, like we've all seen videos of Kevin Van Dam like going to town with a jerk bait, like never pausing. Speed cranking is using the right type of crankbait to present a bait in that same fashion, in my opinion, at depths that you don't get with your jerk bait. That's what made sense to me the first time I seen it, and I was like, holy cow. And I will tell you that anymore today, I probably half my cranking is speed cranking, and it doesn't matter the time of year. I have caught on this little bait here, 48-degree water temperature, relatively with speed cranking it, smashing pre-spawn smallmouth, clear water, flat calm conditions. Nothing about that makes sense, right? Nothing. Right?
You're making them eat
it. They can't not eat it. They're mad at it.
Yes.
In that color. In that color.
When everybody else is teasing them with a minnow or swimming a hair jig or dragging a tube around them, trying to, match the hatch and get them to eat because it's what they're eating, you are making them eat speed cranking. You are taking advantage of that reactionary impulse that those fish have. Yeah. That's what speed cranking is all about.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And that's that. I told you I'd hold it up. Tactical DD crank 75. To me, it's the best speed cranking crank ever built. Matt and Tim built it. This is my favorite color in it. I don't remember exactly what the color's called. It's a shad pattern with the mirror finish on it with the foil. But
yeah, it's sort of similar to this one. I think it's their
very similar
variant because it's not full chrome. It's like semi-transparent chrome.
Yeah, and it flat out catches them. I've caught them everywhere. Everywhere I fish that I'm deep cranking, I've caught them on that color.
Have you thrown the Mega Bass versus that crankbait?
I haven't. I don't even own one.
Okay.
I don't see a reason to because I catch them on that. Maybe you can convince me otherwise, but I catch them on it.
I have so many of those that I don't have a reason to buy that one.
There you go. They'll eat both of them.
They'll eat
it's
both.
Speed cranking. You're moving it so fast. I don't think it matters.
Most of the fish that I catch speed cranking, they don't see a crankbait, much less speed cranking.
Yeah, true.
So I know you know where I speed crank.
Yeah, I know where you speed crank. I'm not going to say it either.
Yeah.
I got one more bait. Do you have anything else?
I think that's it. I think I hit everything. I guess I did, though. I want to end the podcast where we go by the depth or the type of fishing we're going to do, and we're both going to hold up the one bait, because we've held up multiple baits for multiple things, and I'd like to just, what's the one square bill? You only pick one. We'll do that quick at the end. That won't take long. It'll be the speed round.
How about? Oh, speed.
You show your last bait.
Okay.
Yeah, you show the last bait, right, and then
right.
I'll handle the speed round.
Depth range. It's the last depth range that we haven't talked about. This thing got made famous. I don't know. Maybe it was 12, probably something like 12 years ago. It's a crank that'll reach
longer than that already. I think it's longer than that.
Is it 15 or more? Maybe. Yeah, Kentucky Lake. That's where it got made famous. It'll reach 30 foot. Guys were doing the whole what the hell do they call that? Cast it out, use the trolling motor, dump a spool line, and crank it down to 30
the
plus.
Original strolling.
The original strolling. It's not strolling a minnow. It's strolling a crankbait.
Yeah. But then they outlawed it. They made it so you can't do it.
Yeah,
they made a rule change.
Guys would. I mean, you can bomb this bait a mile to begin with. But they take the trolling motor and go the opposite direction and dump their spool line and crank it the whole way back in, and you're reaching 30 plus foot with the thing. But 10XD, I have done so much freaking damage with a 10XD. I've won multiple tournaments fishing it. There is something about the presence of this bait in the water. It's like a swim bait.
Yeah.
It thumps hard. It's big, but it's not that big. I'm throwing swim baits much bigger than this. Yeah, you think it's big. It feels big when you're fishing it because it is pulling hard.
Yeah,
it's a lot of work.
I have a 10XD story for you.
You
keep talking about it first.
Well,
and by the way, they launched it in the fall of 2012.
2012.
Yeah.
Okay. So. Yeah, it's been 14 years. So, primarily, that is a summertime bait for me. Primarily. There are times in the springtime when pre-spawn fish will get stacked up. And when I'm talking pre-spawn, I'm talking pre-spawn with big fish. If I'm dealing with 4+ pound fish stacked up on spots, getting ready to move up into a flat, and they're out in that 20+ foot depth range, that's when I'm picking that bait up. This bait specifically, this color, Sexy Shad, was part of a 40-pound bag. And that 40-pound bag, I'm pretty sure, I think I've said it before on this podcast, was the only 40-pound bag to ever be caught on that lake. That was a big part of that limit. I caught him on that. I caught him on a California swim jig. I caught him on a 3/4 ounce spinnerbait, and I caught him on a Huddleston, all in that same group of fish. But the one bait that made them fire like crazy, actually, it was the first bait that I threw in that school to make them fire, was a 10XD. That I followed up with the other ones.
Do you feel that bait now works as good as it used to, or do you feel like it busts schools up now?
In certain situations, it will work just as good. Okay. And when I say certain situations, I feel like when they're in a school, it may bust them up. But when you're fishing a weed edge that's out in that 25-foot range, it will murder them. I've actually caught fish suspended over 65, 70 foot of water down in that 25 to 30 foot range, just winding this thing down.
Yeah.
Schools of bait were just total pelagic out in the middle of the lake, where guys are waiting for fish to push bait up to the surface. I'm throwing that thing out as far as I can, cranking it down through. There's a 4-pounder. Yeah. Because they're not seeing that.
They're not.
And it creates a presence in the water. Well, they will come a long way to come see what the hell that is. And they've never seen that type of bait come through that water column out in the middle of the lake. So they'll eat it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's big. It has a presence. It has draw. I mean, it's But it's not giant, you know. You like as a
It's
crankbait
not
guy, you
giant.
think, "Oh my gosh, that's such a big crankbait," but it's relative.
It's a small bluegill.
Uh,
It's a small
yeah,
bluegill. It's a big shad. Like, and not even, yeah, it's a big threadfin shad. That's
yeah,
almost as big a threadfin as I've ever seen. Maybe what, 3 3/4 inches? We get threadfins pushing 5 inches here, but it's a big shad and a small bluegill. It's something that they regularly eat in their diet.
I took the first time, like I thought the same thing, and I sort of had. I was actually the very first time I threw one. I'm sitting there looking at the rods in the rod ramp, you know, because I was the co-angler in the boat that day. It wasn't a tournament; I was just fishing with a guy. But I got a big jig, a 3/4 ounce or 1 ounce jig with a super chunk nose hooked on the back of it, and it's sitting right next to that 10XD, and I'm like, that ain't that big.
No.
But you're comparing it to that, the 5XD, which is, you know, a third my palm, but the 10XD is the size of my palm.
Yeah.
But it's heavy. I mean, what is it? 3 ounces?
I think a lot of it has to do with let me just pick up that fat-free shad and put it side by side. Look at a lot of it has to do with the bill. Look how big that bill is.
Yeah.
Right? But look at the size of the body.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit bigger. It's not that much bigger.
It's not.
And this is a normal size crankbait. Like, guys will throw this without hesitation. They see this in the store. They're like, I ain't buying that thing. It's freaking 6 inches long. Well, half of it's the bill.
Throw the DD22 next to it. I mean, DD22 was one of the biggest crankbaits. Like a lot of people, I remember them being like, man, DD22 is huge. I ain't throwing it. Oh, yeah. I mean,
much different.
Yeah.
Yeah, top to bottom.
Yeah.
It's big. It's big.
It's big,
but it's not that big.
And it's like 3 ounces, right? I want to say they're 3 ounces.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
So the first time I'm on Gunnersville ledge fishing, and it came out like ICAST the summer before this, and it's like June or July, and I'm out there with Canterbury, and I've never thrown it before. Scott and I fished together multiple times. Always fish off the front deck of the boat together. Well, what you don't know is at that time, like there wasn't really rods for it. There was rods you could do it with, but it was like everything was a power lighter than it needed to be. I haul back with one of his composite crankbait rods and just give her a good old-fashioned crankbait cast. And his daughter Taylor's in the boat. She's like 12. She's in the back of the boat. So we're in a tight, like me and Scott are going to fish shoulder to shoulder. I wallop him in the back of the head with that crankbait on a full bomb-ass cast as hard as you can imagine. He goes to the ground. Taylor's in the back of the boat looking at me, big eyes. I got big eyes. Scott's reels backlash.
What did you just do?
His hat's floating in the water. The 10XD's hanging on a hat 20 feet out into the lake. And Scott, I know he was seeing stars. And you want to talk about the loudest whoop you've ever heard. I don't know how his skull wasn't cracked or that bait wasn't cracked in half, because that's how loud it was. It sounded like, you ever hear like a shotgun slug hit a barrel? That's what it sounded like. It sounded like a round hitting a barrel out of a suppressed deal, like just whack. Oh man, laugh. Oh, did we laugh? Scott even eventually laughed, but
eventually, after he woke up,
he's sitting on that front deck on one knee, just silence. You're trying not to laugh. Taylor's trying not to laugh. We're both waiting to be like, okay, how mad's he gonna be when he comes to? Maybe he won't remember what happened, is what you're hoping. All right, speed round. All right,
go for it.
One square bill, not a finessey shallow crank. Square bill. Go. Number one. You got one. You can only pick one. Speed trap.
Speed trap.
Speed trap. All
Tried
right.
and true.
Mine's Fat John. Probably
Okay.
already said that. All right. Shallow finesse crank. Fritz side. Mine is actually gonna be. Can't get it anymore. Lucky Craft. Flat mini
DT6.
MR. Nope. I don't consider that one shallow finesse.
Okay.
I would say that's mid depth. You know. All right. So yeah, next mid depth. 5 to 8 foot. You get to pick one.
5 to 8. Okay.
Yeah.
DT8.
DT8. See, now I am gonna say DT6. This ain't a 6, but close enough. DT6.
Yep.
Okay. So we're gonna go the 12-foot class of deep divers. Rock crawler.
Rock crawler. And 12 is, you said 8 foot on that last range. 12 is pushing it. It for a rock crawler. It's 10 foot is a rock crawler.
Yeah.
10 foot and shallower, really.
You know what? I'm actually surprising myself even. DT10.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
I hate to say it. DT10. DT10.
That's the first one you're going to pick up.
It's not. But if somebody told me that I can only pick one the rest of my life, it's going to be that DT10. I feel like it does the most of that style of bait. You know, like this would be a close. I almost picked it up. 5XD.
No, I would agree with you.
It's a little more versatile. A little more versatile, in my 100%. Opinion. All right, true deep diver.
Oh, dude, that's
14 to
not
20.
Extra deep, right?
14 to 20.
That is hard. But I'm gonna go with DD22. I almost picked up the fat free shad, but DD22.
And this is gonna surprise me because this is gonna surprise me. I'm gonna surprise myself.
Okay. Let's talk real quick about these two. Just hold them up side by side.
Very different.
Different build.
But that's the thing.
Okay, hold them up. Bill angle. A little different.
Yeah.
D22 is a little bit more angled than the.
I'll tell you why I picked this.
Right.
I'll tell you why I picked this. This bait for me, I've caught a lot of fish suspended with this bait. And I've caught a lot of fish off the bottom on this bait, cranking it in the bottom. Because of that, I'm going to pick this. I feel almost like this is a...
Real quick, hold that up again.
Extremely similar.
Much more similar.
Yeah,
I feel like these two baits are in the same class, basically. The DD22 is more versatile than the fat free shad.
And I'd probably, if I had the two sizes of fat free shad I talked about, that probably would have been my 12 and 16 foot deep diving crankbait. I would have picked those two. But, like I said, the 10 edges out the 5XD a little bit. But, I mean, you saw me hold up a lot of Spro stuff. But, I mean, if day in, day out versatility, like I feel like they're, a precise tool, not a universal tool. All right.
Yeah.
Speed crank, number one speed crank. You can only pick one, no matter what depth you're fishing. You can only pick one.
I already said it. Tactical.
And mine's gonna be the Deep X 300, which I think is about the same bait. I mean, as far as depth and size and all that,
Pretty much. Very, very close.
Okay. Very good if you're 8 foot of water. Very good if you're 12 foot of water, and you're just going to be out of luck after that.
And then you didn't have anything in that extra deep category.
It would be a 10XD.
But obviously, mine is a 10XD. There are other options. Duorealis makes one that goes 25 foot plus. But day in, day out, I'm picking up a 10XD.
Now, there's a bait that I thought me and you had been talking about, and maybe it's just me jumping to conclusion of that what bait you were talking about. But what I didn't see you hold up is a Berkeley dime.
No, you had that confused with the Fritz side. I own some dimes. I do not throw them.
Okay.
I haven't thrown them enough to really make a good decision or a good reason why I shouldn't be throwing them. But I don't throw them very much.
Would you say they compare to the action of a DT8?
No.
The build profile is similar.
No,
more than it is a DT6.
I wouldn't. No, it's got more vibration than a DT8.
Okay.
I'd say that it's closer to a deep little N, honestly.
Oh. Yeah.
It doesn't pull as hard.
Yeah, weed cranking. You're not a weed cranking. If I had to pick one crankbait to weed crank with, it would be a deep little N.
Yeah.
I feel like weeds, a lot of times, it's more about being above them than under them. So deep little N gets the job done. So there you go. Speed round.
Actually, probably closer to 10X or a 10XD, a DT10. Probably closer to a DT10 than a deep little N.
Okay.
Because the DT10 doesn't have all that much pull either.
No, and that's sort of what a DT8 is supposed to be. DT8 is supposed to be a DT6 of a DT10.
Yeah, but it's DT8 and a DT10 are not the same bait. Yeah. DT10 pulls harder than a DT8 for sure.
Well, shit,
so I'd say that dime is right there with the DT10, real close.
All right.
But
all right. Anything else? Oh, line.
Yeah.
Line. You want to talk about line?
Okay. Yeah. Let's talk about line. I'm a little pissed off about line because I made some major mistakes.
You're gonna let me take a little break, edit it out if you have to, and then we'll talk about line.
Okay. I'm gonna go pee too.
Yep. Oh, I'm gonna get a cushion. Are you back yet? Adam, you back yet? you back yet?
Huh?
Oh my god, I can't find anything to sit on. My ass hurts so fucking bad. Oh. I can't believe my legs ain't gone numb. Did you hear them gunshots before?
No. You living in the ghetto now? In the ghetto. I didn't plan on drinking this much bourbon tonight.
See, that's why I don't drink that shit.
Loud.
What do you mean I'm talking too loud?
You're talking too long.
You said loud.
Did I say loud? Too much bourbon.
Yes.
All right, you ready?
I am ready, kind sir. Oh, no, I'm not. Shit.
All right. Come on, Curt.
Wow. You missed it before. I almost fell face first out of the boat earlier. All right. Okay.
So, line. I'm gonna get started on this because I'm pretty pissed off about the whole line situation, and it's 100% my fault. And I'm learning. I'm still learning. I mean, how long have I been fishing, and how long have I been cranking? And I'm still learning about what lines to throw when. And I'll show you the bait that I was fishing. Again, all-time favorite now, Fritz side.
Fritz side.
It's not a heavy bait. It does cast very well because of the weighting system, but it is not a heavy bait. So I want that castability. I want to be able to get the distance. So the last 3 weeks, last 3 weeks, I was throwing Sunline Assassin, which is a very soft, supple fluorocarbon. It casts very, very well. It's got a slick coating. I really like the way that's with the PI on coating. I really, really like the way that stuff flows off of a reel, and you get so much more distance with it. It really, really makes a difference. But I'm fishing in a lake that's got a lot of brush. It's a lake that came up. They built the dam. They built a brand new dam. I think it was 14 years ago or something like that, 100 feet higher than the previous dam. So all this brush and trees got flooded. And if any of the listeners know anything about San Diego, you probably don't. Most of the listeners, at least. We got quagga mussels in our lakes. Not the same as zebra mussels. The biggest one isn't even probably the size of a dime. Most of them are half the size of a dime. But it's the same thing. You pull into a live zebra or quagga mussel, they will pinch down, and you're cranking a crankbait through stuff, and all of a sudden there's just nothing there, no tension.
They shred your line. It's literally like pulling your line through a cheese grater. If you've not fished around quaggas or zebras, I mean, you hope that they're not live. Yeah, they're. Yeah, it's
a razor blade. So I'm cranking through this brush that has quaggas on it. And I didn't have any issues the first 2 days. I whacked them, dude. I went through at the very end of the day. The first day, I probably went through 20 fish, cranking. The second day I was out there, I probably went through 25 fish in 2.5 hours. And then when I took my dad out the day before Father's Day, I probably caught close to 35 fish cranking the Fritz side. But that last day was very noticeable. I'm cranking a Fritz side through that brush, and I think 4 times I'm cranking it through, and all of a sudden there's nothing on the end of my line and it floats up. And there were 2 fish that day that I loaded up on that absolutely boned me. And there were quaggas, and those quaggas cut right through that assassin. And I got fed up with it. I spooled my reel because I I only have a couple of these reels in the boat that I really like throwing the frit side. It's a Metanium that Curt actually turned me on to. And I spooled my reel and put 16-pound shooter on there because that shooter is a very, very hard line. It does not cast as easy as assassin, but I wasn't concerned about castability at that point. I didn't want to break any more fish off, and I did not want to lose any more baits. Well, I didn't lose a bait cranking through the brush. They'd cut it off and the thing would float to the surface and I'd go retrieve it. But those 2 fish that I lost still have them in their face right now.
Yeah.
So I'll let you piggyback on that.
Yeah. I mean, over the years, I've used tons of different line. I know you have. I mean, I remember fishing Maxima line, monofilament for crankbaits. I mean, so much different stuff over the years. I forget the line company that they were part of Pradco back in the day. A line company. Gosh, I can't. They weren't Striner Berkeley. It was a different one. It actually made some good line. But yeah, I mean, nowadays, I mean, we're talking pre-2000s. That's a long time ago. 19 somethings. But no, you talk about the Assassin, and I remember when they developed Assassin. I've used Sunline for a long, long time. The big thing with Assassin is it has the PIon treatment on it, but overall, that line is not an overly hard fluorocarbon. It's meant to be an easy handling, just do anything, not great at any one thing, budget friendly, but have some premium quality aspects because of that PIon treatment. And I'm going to talk hopefully some real details here in a second. But it's soft. It is not abrasion resistance. I used Assassin for a long time. I liked Assassin because, like, on 8-pound tests, I could throw it on a spinning reel, and it wouldn't be just completely junk, But yeah, and then zebra mussels would tear it apart on Lake Winnebago. Had sort of the same experience, and that's why I quit using Assassin. It's throwing DT10s on rock piles on Lake Winnebago, and yeah, you come across them zebra mussels, and it just would get shredded. I love that line for a lot of different things, but it is not good around the zebra mussels.
No,
so
it's not great around rock either for a lengthy amount of time.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna tell you, we because I just had it sent to me. So Assassin had to call in Assassin's abrasion resistance is actually rated a 4 by Sunline. That's pretty high. 5.
Out of a 5. 4 out of 5.
Yeah. 4 out of 5. But I know a lot of that is because it's so slick that it doesn't get abrased coming across abrasives. We're not talking about abrasives. We're talking about something that's razor sharp.
Cutting. Yeah. You're not talking about rubbing. You're talking about cutting.
Yes, a sharp edge against it, not an abrasion like you're running over sandpaper where it's just not dragging. So, yeah, abrasion resistance, they're claiming a 4 for Sunline Assassin. Abrasion resistance on the shooter that you switch to, or is going to switch to, I forget what you said there.
Shooter.
You know, yeah, but and it's that you're in those 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, and 20, you're in the marionette special formula of shooter, which is a lower stretch, higher sensitivity, higher abrasion resistance type of line. It's a 4.5. And
how is it not a 5?
Something, because it's probably not as hard as like a hard fluoro leader, like a shock leader, or hard saltwater leader.
I'm not comparing it to things like that, so yeah, that might be why.
And I don't see a radar chart for FC Crank, but I'm curious. Without the line, without the PI on, the core line, well, they don't show it either. I was hoping to see.
You're leaving the people hanging, Curt.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to give you more information, but I can't. So anyway,
I know.
I told you Sunline FC Crank. I've been using this stuff so much the last 3 years. Every time I put it on something, I'm impressed about the abrasion resistance. I use it jerk baiting. I use it crank baiting. I use it on my 16-pound test for my chatterbaits. Been really, really impressed with it. You got the easy handling. You got a little bit more stretch than a standard than this shooter that you're talking about using. But I'll give that a try. I've been really impressed. I used to just pretty much like crankbait. I don't really care. Give me some 10 or 12-pound test. This stuff's really changed the game for me. I don't know if it's going to be more abrasion resistance for you. I think it will be, but you will have to tell me. But at the end of the day, you got to remember one thing. You're putting a crankbait into the bottom of the lake. You're trying to make contact with bottom. You're going to lose some baits. And when you start dealing with the zebra mussels and quaggas, you can just have retied, make 5 cranks, come over a log covered with them things, and you are cut off. A fish does not have to be on the other end of the line. It will just cut you.
Yeah.
You don't need a fish attached.
Yep.
So it is part of the game. You're going to lose fish to it.
The whole part of this conversation about line is there are certain lines that you want to be using in certain situations. With grass, Curt talked about throwing braid to snap it out of grass. Certain grasses, you may not have to use braid. If you got real crispy grass, you might want to use shooter that's a little bit more rigid, doesn't have as much stretch. You might be able to snap it out of that grass with the shooter. You're probably not going to get that job done with assassin.
Right.
And you're definitely not going to get that job done with mono.
No, for sure not.
So
I don't know, around grass, I don't think you can really snap a bait free of grass well with anything unless it's braid, personally. I mean, I don't want to work that hard.
You might be able to get away with like a shooter in certain situations, but not nearly as well
or sniper
as you will with braid. For sure.
Or sniper. You know, sniper is a good alternative as well, too. It's not as much stretch as the assassin or the FC crank.
That's 90% of what I crank with is sniper and InvisX. That's
And honestly, if I am deep cranking, like truly deep cranking, you know, and like speed cranking too, I'm not big on braid to leader. I'm definitely getting more and more about that, but it's a slow struggle for me.
I'm the same way.
I see the advantages. I struggle with the feel of it because I'm so used to the feel of floral. But I am going to use this on a deep crankbait or a speed crankbait. I'm going to use shooter. I want the lowest stretch. I want the maximum sensitivity. I'm going to use shooter. But this is a very low stretch, hard line. if you backlash with
Sensitive.
this and put a kink in it, it's bad. You will break
Yeah.
this off if you put a kink in it.
Yep.
It is not. This to
It's
me is
brittle.
leader material because I don't feel
Yep.
it handles kinks and breaks. It's leader material to me. The FC Crank, I think, is just the best all around. I've been really, really happy with this stuff. I used to use Assassin a lot. I really got away from that. I don't know. They're saying the abrasion resistance is real high on it, and I would say around wood and stuff it is for how soft and supple that line is, but I don't think it is when you get around rock and that type of stuff. But that's what they're saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, use what works for you though. If you got a rod that's a little too stiff, you're not going to want to throw a shooter on it. It's going to mess you up. If you got a rod that's too stiff,
Yep.
Feel the rod's too
Yep.
stiff, buy a stretch of your line. You can make up a lot. You can make up a lot by just switching your line out.
For sure.
But
You got
that's
anything
it.
else?
Crankbaiting. Not
All
unless
right.
you want to go
I
down the
got
rod
one
rabbit
more-
hole, and I don't really want to.
No, I got one more thing. We got a lot of new listeners after our
Mhm.
last episode. We had some controversial comments that were made that we threw some shorts out there that really drew in a lot of people. So we've got some new listeners that are going to be looking at this episode, and I'm glad we're filming this episode because this episode is really what this podcast was meant to be. Teaching, the
teaching,
conversations that you and I have, fishing conversations that for the new listeners, this is how this podcast got started. I was sitting in the garage one night, me and Curt were just shooting the shit, talking fishing, and I told him we need to start a podcast about the conversations that you and I have that people need to hear. And that's what this podcast is about. It is not all about controversy. Sure, we've hit on those topics here and there, but going forward, the majority of what you guys are going to hear, we're going to touch on it for sure. But the majority of what you're going to hear on this podcast, it's fishing talk.
Yeah.
That's what we really want this to be.
Yeah.
And that's what it's going to be. But thank you for everybody who joined in and started following and subscribing. It's awesome to see so many people joining in, and I'm glad people are paying attention because it's fun for us to film these and give out our experiences, our opinions. Everybody's got one. Mm-hmm. Just like I won't go there.
Opinions are like armpits. Everybody's got one. They all stink eventually.
Is it an armpit? I thought it was something else.
I'm PG-13 for once.
You said worse than that in our podcast. We've said worse than our podcast. That's for damn sure. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one.
It's all about fishing conversation. Yeah, Kyle ruffles some feathers. That's what Kyle does. Ruffles feathers. He ain't afraid to tell it. If he thinks it, he's gonna say it eventually.
And he ain't wrong.
Well, and that's the thing. He doesn't have to. And you know what? He doesn't have to be 100% right. None of us are ever 100% right.
True.
He has experiences. He has opinions. I've experienced some of the similar things and share a lot of the same opinions a lot of times. But, there's no sense. If you're not the person he's talking about and you don't know what he's talking about, then don't get your feathers all ruffled up because you don't think what he's talking about exists. Yep. And I guess the controversy that we've seen on the old, socials, there's a lot of people that really don't know. They really don't know. There was a lot of accusations of no one knows who you are, who are you, stuff like that. And it's like, and I give credit to, and the one guy that stood up for Kyle, I'm going to try to get him on the podcast because I was actually surprised at what he said on the podcast.
Yeah.
And, but it was perfect. What the one kid said is like, you don't know what Kyle's done. And it's because he's a behind the scenes guy. Most anglers would not know. Yeah, but and not even just that though. I mean, his reach has definitely reached farther than that.
Well, yeah, but
and people don't see that. Everybody knows, the pro angler, right? Everybody knows the pro angler. They don't know that there's one guy pretty much designing all the baits for GSM, working with all these different pros. Well, who's the guy that really knows? That guy. That guy knows how to design a bait because he's designing all the new ones. They're coming out with 20 a year between all the brands and GSM. I mean, that guy's probably, you don't want to fish against him either, I'm sure. I don't know him. But I know there's just one guy.
If he's designing baits to catch fish, he can catch them.
Yeah. It's a lot of people start talking about this, that. I mean, there's so much stuff that I did that wasn't Dirty Jigs related through relationships, people call and ask you questions. You get involved in stuff, prototype of testing stuff, giving feedback, so many brands, so much this. And the average guy just doesn't know who's actually doing all that stuff. Just maybe stand back and look at the picture a little bit, and before you start saying this person doesn't know or this person hasn't done this or hasn't done that. But unfortunately, in today's age, we've heard a lot of people claim they've done a lot of things that they've never done. And so most people just think, well, if I don't know who you are, you've not done anything. But yeah.
Well, my whole point to this was to all the new listeners, thank you for following. Thank you for subscribing. For the ones that haven't subscribed, please subscribe. It helps us out. We're trying to grow this thing to reach a bigger audience. We have fun doing it. We've got an episode planned. We actually just scheduled it tonight. For your Western fishermen, something to really look forward to. We're going to have Dylan Denny and Billy Egan on. That'll be airing, I think, sometime late July, maybe very early August. We'll see, but that one's scheduled. A pretty big surprise in that episode, which I'm really stoked about. Dylan's the reigning Lake Mead Open champion with WON Bass. He was on before with Kevin Hugo. Dylan's an awesome guy, and he's going to be very generous with the surprise that's coming. So tune in for that. Like, subscribe, comment. If you guys want to hear us talk, if you want to hear us talk about something, comment. Let us know. Mm-hmm. We're always looking for ideas.
Please. Wherever it is, Instagram, social media, Facebook, wherever you see us, if you'd like us to talk about something, or if you just got a question and you want our opinion, we'll answer the message, or we'll do a pod about it, or bring it up in a pod. Like, anything you guys want to talk about, we're happy to talk about.
Kurt's been in the business long enough to know the right people to have on these episodes to talk about certain topics and baits. So we've talked at length about episodes that we want planned. But if you have an idea of something that you want to hear about, Curt has probably got the contact for the right person to come on and talk about that and give the correct info about it.
And even if I can't get them on here, I can definitely have a conversation. That's the hardest thing.
Absolutely.
I'd love to have 5 people on every podcast to talk about stuff. I tried getting 3 different people to come on this one. And scheduling doesn't work, I mean,
no. I really wish Marcus would have joined us in on this one.
Oh, that would have been awesome. I really wish he would. We'll get him on about something else.
We will.
I'll do a frog fishing one. You can have him on for that, so you can watch him cry.
It won't even be fishing related. It'll just be stories between you two guys and Cartman.
Yeah. And Curtman. It's Curtman. It's not Cartman. It's Curtman.
Sorry. Curtman.
It's up on the wall over there, right next to the sign. My motto: "You fix stupid."
We'll get him on one of these times, but
yeah.
Again, thank you for everybody for subscribing. We really appreciate the support.
We got a flipping episode coming too. Don't forget about that.
We do.
Gonna do a flipping episode.
We gotta get that one.
And it's gonna be more about how to flip. We'll talk a little bit about baits, but I want to talk about line and rods and what you should be doing with your rod, that type of stuff. I mean, not only
I'm not going to have a
pretty dang good at it.
on that because we don't have a whole lot to flip out here. Our flipping opportunities are very limited. It is almost never that we have the high water situation with flooded brush, tules, whatever, that you actually have an opportunity to flip. So you're going to be doing a lot of talking. Hopefully I can, maybe I'll get a guest from out west here to join us on that can actually give some decent input, that maybe fishes the river lakes and stuff.
I would
that you
more
two
than
can spitball.
Well, if anything, I just would like you to just ask a bunch of questions. I think that's when we're going to get the most off of it.
It's your ego getting the best of you right now. You want to be the star of the show?
No. he ain't going to tell me anything somebody else ain't told me, and I'll tell you what other people have told me. I mean, flipping's been the primary fishing technique in my arsenal since I was like 14 years old.
And I've had the luxury. Kyle both said it in the last episode.
And you know why that is? It's a lot of that's because for the last 25 years, I've been able to call some of the best flippers in the world anytime I wanted and ask questions or be in the boat with them. It isn't because I just made something, no, I learned, student of the sport stuff. I mean, I've learned from Canterbury. I've learned stuff from Clausen. I've learned stuff from Heron, Heron's kid, Josh. I mean, you want to talk about guys that really know stuff, and you learn a lot just watching them and asking questions because they do stuff they don't even think about.
Yeah, it's automatic for them.
That a lot of everybody else has to actually go, oh, Matt Heron will talk your ear off for 40 minutes about your rod angle. And I learned how to flip from the Denny Brower Jig Fishing Secrets book. I got 2 copies of it still. Went out of print production in like 1998, talking about floor or monofilament and torque rinds. That's old stuff, but I read it the other day again. I was just skimming through it. I was like, there's some good information in this thing still about the how-to of it. Yeah, the tackles change, but the presentation hasn't. What you need to do.
Yep.
But rod position's huge. Using a rod you're comfortable with, the action of the rod, size of the line. It's easy to fish a heavy enough line, but the size of the line makes a big difference for the presentation of your bait versus the weight of your bait. Those are the things I want to talk about that I don't hear people talking about anymore. And everybody's still flipping. The big hot topic nowadays is forward-facing sonar. Is it going to wreck the sport? Isn't it going to wreck the sport? We should ban it. We shouldn't ban it. Blah, blah, blah. Well, you know what? I have had opinions about why it is bad for the sport in the long run. And I've been researching, talking to former suppliers of mine, talking to contacts in the industry, people that are still selling tackle. And I keep getting told more and more that we're still selling all the old normal stuff. It might be down a little bit, but the jig head and the minnow stuff is just way up further than what that stuff is. So as a whole, they're still up. And when you start talking about hook companies, skirt manufacturers, casting companies, that, and they're saying, no, stuff's good. We're not seeing much of a change. There's a small downtick, and think maybe that's more economy to scale than it is other stuff. We've talked about lack of tournaments and this and that. I don't know, man. You got to wonder. There's still a lot of people frogging and flipping and crankbaiting, and that's awesome. And I think it's just going to keep getting that. People are going to – the fish are going to get conditioned for facing sonar.
I was just going to say it's harder and harder to catch fish using forward-facing sonar in that minnowing sense. I mean, you look at Christie, look at Chris Johnson, and what was it, Chris or Corey that won that tournament with the Koike?
I don't know. Do you see my trolling motor up there?
Yeah.
360. You see anything missing? You see anything missing?
I don't see a forward-facing sonar.
I took it off. That's
so it's getting harder and harder to catch those fish. Those fish are getting used to it. And honestly, I think that's why this episode is more important than ever. I think the crankbait is catching more fish now than it did 4 or 5 years ago.
I think, yeah,
I'm finding that for sure.
I think if anything right now that with forward facing sonar, a lot of people didn't adapt 360. Me and you did. I really did.
Yeah,
like, I've had 360 since it came out with it.
Yep.
But you can
it
definitely
made
do
me
stuff
a different
with
fisherman.
There's different stuff you can do with forward facing sonar in that landscape or perspective or whatever you want to call it view. Crankbaiting, I feel as much as anything, you're going to have scoping forever. That pinpoint, there's a fish, work a fish on your graph. But I think what you're going to see is a lot of people are going to use that perspective or like the XL that Lowrance has, those type of things. They're going to use it more just as like we would use a 360 that it's live though. And crankbaiting, I think, is going to benefit a lot from that. I think you're 100% right. That when you use that technology and you think about it, besides actually snipering a fish, actually pinpoint, shaking a minnow on a fish, chatterbaiting, cranking, spinnerbaiting, any reaction, jerkbaiting. We already know, like jerkbaiting's huge. With
that's almost where it all started.
Right. It is not long before I see these other techniques being where it becomes what 360, I guess, ultimately wanted to be, which was at the time side imaging for while you're fishing. You're going to have live side imaging while you're fishing. But the fish are going to get accustomed. You're going to get to the point where it's like, man, you can't hardly catch them on a minnow no more. Oh, you can't, they if you land a bait on their head, they swim away, or they, you got to be under them or right at their depth. They won't come up no more, or the fish are going to push the bank or go to cover more, and they're not going to suspend and roam, so you can shake a minnow on them. That's what's going to happen. We saw the same thing happen when people were finding them with ledges. But yeah, I mean, nobody's talking about it right now. Everybody's talking about a Quakey and, an urchin.
I know.
And it's like, I've had so many guys.
You're going to see some major tournaments one cranking in the very near future.
Can you hear all that blasting? Can you hear that blasting? It's like 10 o'clock. No. Somebody's trying to have a fireworks show.
You better start ducking.
I'm going to make some phone calls is what I'm going to do. We're like, it's almost 10 o'clock on a Monday night. What are you doing launching off fireworks like grand finale in a subdivision? What's wrong with you?
All right. Let's check out. I'm going to say it one more time. Thank you, everybody, all the new subscribers, everybody who is already subscribed. We appreciate the support. Like, comment, subscribe, like everyone says. I get sick of hearing it all on all the other podcasts, but it's true.
Hey, I'm going to say this.
Comment, subscribe.
There are so many people, and hardly anybody's going to make it to the end of the episode or hear this anyway, but there's so many people like, I like this. I like what you're doing. I know guys that aren't even bass fishermen are listening to this damn thing. And I'm like, what the for? But they are. Well, anything I can do to help. The number one thing
that
you can do to help is I'm not going to tell you to go buy merch. I'm not going to tell you to do any of that. I may ask you at some point in time. You see,
we're getting zero sponsorship dollars.
Yeah, we don't get nothing.
We're getting nothing. Zero.
But I will tell you, please like and subscribe. There's nothing you can do for us to help us more than like and subscribe. And that's all I'm going to say about it. Probably ever.
Yep.
Never say it again.
Yep. No, you'll say it again.
So.
All right.
2 people will see this by the end of the video.
I still got to eat dinner. I'm like 4 bourbons in, actually probably 5 or 6 bourbons in, as tall as I poured them, and I still got to eat dinner.
All right. See you guys later. Appreciate the listen.
Peace.